to the 9/11 War Room, a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in at 911warroom.com.
Welcome to the 9/11 War Room. My name is Gene.
My name is Sandra. Today is Sunday, May 29th, and we've got episode 228.
First news item we have. Yes. Happy Palm Sunday to my Christian brothers and sisters out there. I was not feeling so hot, so I did not get to go to church this morning, but that is today. Hosanna in the highest. First 9/11 news story today from the Daily News. New York City denies another request for info on 9/11 toxins, prompting a new 9/11 lawsuit. It says here, New York City has denied another request for data about the toxins that swirled above Ground Zero after 9/11, claiming nothing could be found, despite the discovery of 68 boxes worth of information on the subject just 4 months ago, the Daily News has learned. Carboy, the lawyer, filed a new lawsuit against the city on Sunday, asking a judge to order the city to produce the records. A similar lawsuit against the city's Department of Environmental Protection led to the agency coughing up 68 boxes worth of material on the subject, despite the city claiming for years it had nothing to share. In the lawsuit, Carboy and attorney Matthew McCauley, who are representing the families of 9/11 illness victims and the survivor advocacy group 9/11 Health Watch, said that the city closed the 2023 FOIL, which is Freedom of Information Act law request, for the data sent to the mayor's office and the city law department, as well as 2 appeals for the data. The last appeal was denied on March 20th. So it's just amazing that the people just still fighting to get the information out about the toxins, and that's another ongoing saga. Next news story. This is an...
Could we have a comment on that?
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah. I've mentioned this before, I believe it's Barb, that Charlotte Dennett, who's one of the attorneys on our lawyers committee board, she has a client who is basically dying of the toxins at Ground Zero, as a first responder. And they will not even let him have his medical records to be able to bring a lawsuit based upon evidence. So it's even worse. Okay.
Truly criminal. Thank you for that addition. This is a fact check. Everyone, rest in peace to those lives lost on the Air Canada accident. But the mainstream media didn't miss a beat to try to tie in 9/11 to it. New York plane crash reignites 9/11 conspiracy theories. They even brought in some graphics of 9/11. Sandra?
Yeah. People wasted no time on social media, and as admins of the 9/11 Truth Movement page, we must have received a dozen requests to share one of 2 memes. And I don't know if you want to pull that up in the 9/11 Truth Movement. I addressed it. I didn't approve any of them for very specific reasons, because both of them are logical fallacies, really. And we need to stop it with these knee-jerk reactions of jumping on a news story just because it involves a plane and says, well, if this plane did this, then how the heck did it do that on 9/11? And yeah, if you could just scroll down to, are you sharing? Oh, you're not even sharing it yet. Okay, right there. No, you just pass it.
Okay. So, can you give us the gist?
Yeah, I'm going to share it. I'm going to have Gene screen share right away.
I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. I should probably just pull it up. So, so the one meme, the one on the left, as you can see, says, so you mean to tell me an airplane can go right through the World Trade Center that had steel structure beams of 4-inch plate every 40 inches using 12 different grades of steel with a yield strength of 100,000 psi. But if the same plane were to run into a fire truck on a runway, the plane is completely destroyed. And the other one says, so is this what happens when a plane hits a fire truck, but if it hits the Twin Towers, it can knock them down? So I had issues with both of them.
The second one's not too bad.
The second one, okay, so this is what I basically said about the second one. I said, even the official narrative doesn't claim that the planes knocked down the buildings. but that the ensuing fires did after the buildings were damaged. It's arguing a point that was never posited. I know that people often like this clickbaity thing, the planes knocked down the towers, but even the official version doesn't say that, because they didn't take them down. They didn't hit them and knock them over in that instant. They hit them, they explode, there was an explosion, there was fire, and the official story says that the fires brought down these towers, obviously as a result of the jet impact. So I thought that that was a logical fallacy. And the other one, to which I said, I don't know if the point is that there were no planes, because it's hard to tell from what the implication is. But again, nobody among even the conspiracy theorists is claiming that the planes went through the towers intact. The planes were shredded as they flew into the towers, but their engines certainly created massive damage coming in at that speed. Add in the explosion upon impact, not just from the jet fuel, but from pre-planted explosive. And yes, there would be massive ejections. Who exactly is saying that the planes flew through the towers and that the nose came out on the opposite side? We hear this all the time. Yeah, they're saying that the nose came out on the... I don't know anybody who says that. There is an ejection on the other side.
Roy McCoy, excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. Well, okay, but I think we're all in agreement that that's not the nose that's coming out on the other side. So I asked, what do you suppose a plane flying into a skyscraper should even look like? Should it bounce right off? Should it crumple and fall to the ground along the outer perimeter? And yeah, as I'm just, there were windows, there were, it's coming in at the kinetic energy is insane. And they have 4.5 ton engines on both sides. So of course there's going to be momentum going into the towers. Of course they got shredded going in. So again, we've got to be careful, because we're putting things out there that don't even make sense. And I know it's tempting to jump on a news story like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm the first to try to hop onto something and make a tie to 9/11, but this wasn't one of them. And
no,
I think.
Well, can I ask? Do people we know? Did people we know in the movement make these connections in these posts or not?
Well, people we define people
creating,
we know.
Yeah. The greater 9/11 truth movement is responding to it with some things. That's what she just addressed. But I think it's a red herring, in my opinion, because the bigger point is that asymmetrical damage and ensuing fires will never cause fire-resistant steel-framed high-rises to collapse globally, symmetrically, and against path most resistance.
And that should be the focus.
That should be it.
So let's
planes or no planes, those buildings shouldn't fall like that.
Yeah.
All right,
let's not be lazy thinkers, is all I'm saying.
I think. Can I just mention quickly? I think you could make an argument that this image is relevant to the Pentagon part of 9/11 because we're supposed to believe that a plane going over 500 miles an hour completely was folded in and was sucked into this hole without significant wreckage left outside, and yet at this much lower speed we can see what happened to that plane. So I would, you could make that argument, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Also in the news, Los Angeles Times, Catherine Herridge. I thought she was pretty cool, but it seems like she's really hanging on to the official narrative. It says here, straight to the point, exposing Epstein's Saudi 9/11 connection. Missing the obvious straight line around the obvious connection to the Saudis. It says here, this week on Straight to the Point, I sat down with Morgan Wright, a nationally recognized cybersecurity law enforcement and intelligence analyst. Wright analyzes the new revelations from the Epstein Files and discusses evidence that Jeffrey Epstein functioned as a high-level influence operator for who? Allegedly protecting Saudi Arabian interests, which included apparent attempts to block 9/11 families' lawsuits before Trump took office, a 9/11 shadow commission with Ghislaine Maxwell, and bragging about SCIF access with Steve Bannon. Wright also says that Epstein fits the exact profile of individuals valuable to the CIA National Resource Division, and questions why Epstein was never investigated for the apparent violations of foreign lobbying laws by either party. And she goes on. I'll put
I think that part's all okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but you try to search this, you search for anything in, and she's been making a lot of posts about it on X. I'll also include these where she links back to her interview with that gentleman. each one of these, but she never mentions Israel. But yeah, there was definitely some shenanigans going on before with Epstein on redirecting any investigations. All right. Next news story. 9/11 teleconference. Mick Harrison was on. This was March 25th. That was last Wednesday. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it live. I did catch it after the fact, and I love listening to Mick. Some of you guys might not be into the legalese, but he really lets you know what we've been doing in the past as the 9/11 Truth Movement legally. I love his sense of humor.
Yeah, with Mick, to me, it's not so much about the legalese, because I can't always follow all of that, but it's the way he presents. It's very, very factual. It's very specific, and he makes sure that every time he says, "I'm not speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for other people," he's very clear in his communication. Yeah. I have a lot of appreciation for that.
So if you're into it, please listen to that. Craig, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else on.
No, other than I found it to be really pleasant and interesting evening. You know, we went on for, I think we went for past more than 3 hours.
Yep.
Or at least around 3 hours, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say? 3:07. Okay.
Yep.
So obviously that meant that the discussion was you know, holding everyone's attention, and then Mick was being very generous with his time. I mean, we got to see his disappearing hat there, which was kind of fun too. Sort of coming in and out of, you know, from one dimension to the other. But anyway, no, I appreciated it very much. And it all came from seeing him talk a little bit about the Ron Johnson thing on your thing a couple of weeks ago. And that's why I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity for our group to hear about this firsthand. And so, and I think, you know, I would say this, where Mick's opened up a door, which I think is a very welcome one for input into what this group is doing. And I think that door didn't appear to be very wide open before. But I appreciate, you know, his willingness to hear from people.
Yeah, I don't know if he realizes the floodgates he may be opening, but well, I do appreciate his effort, and he's great. He doesn't really like to do presentations, so I think he only talked for maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then it was all Q&A. So he's very open about being asked questions, and he gives straightforward answers, and yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. You wanted to talk about
something on that
else?
Yeah, go ahead, Barb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend everybody watch. I mean, it's very long. I watched it last night. It's very long, but it's a must watch. I have some concerns. First off, I agree. I'm just completely positive about Mick reaching out as an individual to tell us as much as he can about the process of the PSI group that stands for, PSI stands for Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. In other words, Senator Johnson's subcommittee of the Senate. I'm just really glad Mick's doing this. I'm going to tell him so in a personal email. I did have some issues.
Let's take that up separately and not in front of everybody else.
I mean, it depends. I mean,
no, it depends. Come on.
I think we should hear about it.
I really, let me just preface this before we go into that. I really appreciated that Mick wanted to point out anything we say should be constructive and not deconstructive. It should be for the positive of what we're trying to obtain, and not anything to vilify anybody or talk bad on anybody. But go ahead, Barb. Okay.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that interpretation is subjective also, as you know.
Yes.
But anyway, I just want to raise to people's attention. I'll do my very best not to put a value judgment on it.
Thank you.
And well, everybody does that, not just me.
I know.
Okay, everybody does that. We can't not do that. We're human beings. Okay. But anyway, I just will point out a few things that Mick did and said. One of them is that he has opened the floodgates. That was your word, not mine. He's opened the floodgates to anybody who wants to send in what they believe is important evidence and commentary and analysis. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
He has opened that floodgate to a very important person. Patty Casazza,
Mhm.
Casazza, who is
Casazza,
one
yep.
of the original Jersey girls. She is a Judy Wood DEW advocate. And Mick on that podcast, the leaders podcast, Zoom, said that he was willing to have her come on to one of the next ones. I don't know if it'll be the very next one or just one-on-one with him and lay it all out, and that he's going to be totally open-minded to it and will give his analysis of it. Now that's all good because I totally trust Mick to
There,
be factual and logical.
there was
Okay.
something he added to the end of that, though. He said, "You may or may not agree with my decision."
Yes, correct. Yes, exactly. So we'll see if that happens. The other issue of major concern for me, and I know Craig McKee, is that Craig McKee sent a list of bullet points to Raul Angulo, asking Raul to share them with Richard Gage and Mick and everybody else on the group of five that's headed by Ted Walter. And that's good. So there's an open channel there. Anybody who sends something to Richard or Mick and Mick did say that anything that's sent to him, he intends to forward to the group of five. He will make his own analysis of it, get back to the person probably, but he doesn't want to be the only person who passes judgment on it. He's going to send it on to the group of five. That's all good. However, on February 3rd, Craig sent a brilliant short bullet point list of the main points about the Pentagon from his analysis to Raul Angulo. Raul Angulo sent it to the group of five. Raul Angulo then got back to Craig. This is all on what was revealed. Raul Angulo got back to Craig and said that the group of five had rejected them all. I have now seen that bullet point list, and I think everyone on this call should see it. I agree with everything in it. It is factually based. So what does that mean? And not only that, because Mick is on the group of five, I asked him yesterday on the leaders call, I asked him, Mick, are you on all, to the best of your recollection, are you on all of the Wednesday weekly meetings of the group of five? He said, yes. And he said, I'm also on some other, sub meetings of the so-called task forces or, specialty groups. And I said, okay, so were you on the 45-minute call that Raul Angulo, or Zoom, that Raul Angulo told Craig
Yeah, could you
that the
wrap
group of
this?
five had discussed Craig McKee's bullet point list about the Pentagon? And Mick would not answer. He said, I don't recall.
Mhm.
Do you believe that?
I'm not going to make any decision on it.
I don't
Yeah,
think he's
so I want
lying.
people to see this and make their own judgment, but I'm really concerned about that.
Right.
Well, he also said, I mean, that he would look at anything he received, that he would forward. I don't know if he's going to forward everything, because if it gets really crackpot stuff, I can't imagine that he would. But anyways,
Yeah.
I think that he's not going to let his own judgment affect it if he thinks if it's well presented, if it's based in facts according to that person, then I think he'll be willing to forward. But he also said that these decisions are made by consensus.
Well, I
And
understand, but that's just my point, Sandra. He was not willing to say that he was on
Yeah.
the group that actually discussed the bullet point list for 45 minutes and then ruled
Yeah, I'd rather talk
that
about
they
this
would
with
not.
Mick in the room than with him not in the room, so he can clarify things. Or
yeah, he
So
just said he
you can
didn't.
see what he says for
Oh.
yourself.
Yep. I don't want to really get stuck in this either. I got a lot of other stuff I want to get through here. But
Well, I
thank
think-
Can
you
I
for
just
those.
make
it's an
one
issue.
point of clarification, Gene, just before we just for Barbara, just to clarify one small point. It was actually Raul that asked me to come up with a list of bullet points. It
Yes,
wasn't
yes,
me.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
just
understand. And
Yeah.
that's good on Rawls' part.
All right.
yeah, it's wonderful. I agree.
Now we go to videotape.
All right. You hear the alarm. It's that time. It's 5:20. It's the time when Building 7 collapsed. And I just want to take a moment to say a prayer for 9/11 justice. So if you will all just take a pause with me for a second. Lord, come to you right now. I thank you for this day. I thank you for what you've done and continue to do through us. And I just pray that you would continue to bless our efforts in 9/11 justice, that we all have a heart to see the victims' families, justice for the 9/11 victims' families. I pray that you would protect us, give us wisdom and guidance as we continue to the 25th anniversary, and see that that would go well. In your name, amen. Thank you, everybody. Next news story I have. These are more low level, if you will. So NIST put out this report. This is the final report on the collapse of Building 7, NIST NC Star 1A. And on the front cover, we see this model that doesn't match. I've covered it many times. In 2020, AE 9/11 Truth tried to get a request for correction on this fraudulent report. And in 2024, after 4 years of litigation, the Supreme Court of the United States said the writ of certiorari is denied. They wouldn't even listen to the case that AE 9/11 Truth and Mick Harrison were making, that this report doesn't even follow science. And what the Supreme Court, by making that decision, said, and I went to Web for this, and this is giving a little plug for Web. I uploaded the entire legal docket of 17 files up into Web and asked it, did the Supreme Court essentially say that NIST fulfilled its obligation by preparing a report, even if the report is fraudulent? And it says down here at the bottom, and it gives footnotes to each of the documents and whatnot. And here's one document. It's hard for you guys to see, but I'll read it for you. This is Mick writing in a response to them. The defendants, being NIST, want the court to adopt a rule that would deem, for purposes of the standing analysis here, that the defendants compiled the NIST NCST Act and IQA, basically the report, in regard to information required to be made public, because in defendants' view, the NCST Act required only that the report be issued by NIST, even if scientifically and factually vacuous or even intentionally fraudulent. And once we get down to the conclusion from Webb, it says, yes, essentially the courts, including the Supreme Court, through its denial of certiorari, accepted the argument that NIST fulfilled its statutory obligation under the NCST Act, National Construction Safety Team Act, by issuing a report, regardless of whether that report was scientifically accurate or even fraudulent. So basically, the court says, yes, you handed us some stapled papers. That's good enough. They fulfilled their obligation. It's kind of like a kid answering his test. You put some number, and the teacher saying, you put some numbers on there. Hey, you made the effort. That's good. So
It's like arguing the dog wrote my homework. It's
yeah,
okay.
it's just horrible that they did that.
By
Mike
the
made a
way,
little.
allow me to add that exactly the same answer came back for the lawsuit that we filed. The Lawyers Committee filed, Mick wrote it also,
Yes.
well, with the input from the board, that we filed on the 9/11 Review Commission
Yep.
report that simply refused to do exactly what Congress mandated them to do. So this is the position of the government.
Yeah.
They
They just
lie,
won't even
keep,
listen to the
steal.
case. It's atrocious. So if you get a chance, if anybody hasn't checked out Web, it is behind a paywall.
Web.io.
Yeah, theweb.io, only because it costs money to them to upload documents and process them. And if you're a high level influencer uploading thousands and thousands of documents, they just couldn't afford to do that for free. So I think it's $20 a month if you're into that. But it's really interesting because basically you upload these documents, the entire what I did, the request for correction docket, and you ask questions, and it only gives you answers from those files. It doesn't make stuff up like Grok or ChatGPT will do. It just gives you factual evidence, information, and footnotes it. So that you click on a footnote, whoops, and something went wrong. And it will actually go to, let's see, like if I click on footnote 4, it'll bring up the file that it's referencing and tell you exactly where to find that information.
Right. So everything's sourced, which is, very critical. And just again, to take a step back, this is Ian Carroll's project that he put up with his web team. He started off with the Epstein Files, all 3 million of them. He put them there for people to search. And that's why it was so great, because nobody can search 3 million files. So if you ask it to give you all the files that reference a certain person or a certain place or whatever, it's going to track down exactly those. He then, 9/11 was a second big one, which was great, a really big endorsement, if you will, of the importance of this issue and subject. And we feel like he will be diving into it into a lot more detail himself. So he asked for the data sets of everything that was out there. And how many files?
I think I can't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember how many.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah, tens of thousands. So a lot of stuff is there, and all the critical important thing. And the thing is, the beauty of this project is that's the base data set, if you will. If you actually sign up for this, then you can include your own documents that you want to be used as a reference also. So if you're looking for a connection between something that's in there and something that you added, it will find those links and it will have an analysis on that. And the third one that he did, for anyone who's interested, is he uploaded all the scriptures from all the various religions.
Yep. And the FBI vault. I don't know if you mentioned FBI vault.
I did not, no.
So yeah, Epstein Files, 9/11 and FOIA, and Government Records Archive, the FBI vault, ancient texts, and anything that you want to upload yourself, which I've done a lot of 9/11 stuff. And I want to give a shout out to Brian Good. Thank you for answering on, I think it was 9/11 Truth Movement Facebook group. You gave me some questions to ask about the request for correction data set. So I will ask those questions and get back to you on that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
How do we add documents to Ian Carroll's 9/11?
So it doesn't go up to the global brain, if you will. These are just your personal data sets. What he plans on doing in some future event is that people can look at all these other data sets that people have uploaded themselves and pull them in to theirs. So that's not there yet, but he's working on it.
So if I understand correctly, you go to theweb.io, you pay $20.
Yep.
And for instance, the Lawyers Committee could download all of our affidavits.
Upload, yes.
Or upload all of our affidavits.
Yes.
And it's pretty easy to do.
Yes.
And he will eventually integrate all those from individuals.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. All right. And yeah, I just made a funny meme about it. This report is fraudulent. It ignores physics, freefall, evidence of explosions. And the judge ruling the NCSTX says NIST must only issue a report. It doesn't say it has to be correct or even honest. Case closed. NIST wins. Fraud is now officially close enough. Dum-dum. Oh, wait, I got a sound for that. There it is. All right.
He's been waiting to use those buttons and he finally has a chat.
Oh, that's great.
And
wait till you hear the other ones.
On that also, Patty has reached out to me again on X about my request for her to ask Howard Lutnick for these files. Building 7 files that they said they won't release because it might jeopardize public safety. She said, I haven't reviewed these files yet because I had made a post about things. She thought that I was saying that I got the files. And I said, no. She said, are these the same files you asked me to request from E.D. Lutnick, Howard Lutnick? If so, may I assume you have them and do not need a duplicate from Howard Lutnick? I've already submitted a second request, not acknowledged or answered, for the records, and I want to avoid continuing to ask for something you no longer require. Please let me know. To which I replied, no, we do not have them, but this lists exactly what we need. And it's all the input files and models and data about Building 7. Because once we get those models and all that data, as Jerry knows, that will show that that building absolutely did not fall from fire. And it'll prove the all the missing stiffener plates and shear studs and a whole lot of other things. But anyways, I digress. Getting too much into the weeds. Last thing I want to share that Mick was helping us out with, back in 2018, I did a FOIA request for these 100 videos. Here you can see the FOIA officer responded to me and said there are additional footage, approximately 100 videos. However, this material has not been reviewed. We are able to confirm that this media does not contain time distance information, and therefore we do not know if it will fall within the scope of your request. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. I asked for all videos within 1 mile of the Pentagon, thanks to David Cole prompting me to ask the FOIA. And they got back and said, yeah, we got about 100 of them, but we're not going to give them to you because we can't tell how far away they are. So I got Mick on it, and we went through this whole long proceeding through FOIA requests, and now where it stands, in these two FOIA decisions here being appealed, the FBI respectively set an unreasonable cost estimate of $24,880 and an unreasonable timetable of 77 months for agency response. Mick has let us know on the last time we talked to him that if we get a journalist, there could possibly be a waiver of fees. Now, I appreciate what Carl said. Hey, maybe you can just raise the $25,000. Yeah, maybe we could. But it would be nice if we can get a journalist on. So I've asked, he says he has somebody. So we might be meeting with him in the next 2 weeks. And I'm asking Ted to reach out to Clayton Morris or even Tucker Carlson if he can do that. So if we can get a journalist, we might be able to see what we'll do before they grandstand again and give me some other excuse why they can't
And
get us.
also for the fundraising, first of all, we're going to have to do a whole lot of fundraising for, oh my gosh, for the anniversary event. And also, much more importantly, even if we raise the $25,000, we are quite confident that they would throw us another, another wrench and make it about something else. And well, thanks for the money, but now you have to wait another, I don't know, 6 years for whatever.
Yep.
So
Gene?
we'd rather find out sooner than later.
Gene,
Yes, ma'am.
are the 100, when they got back that they found 100, because they said they didn't have time information or distance information.
Mhm.
Do we know, or did they say that they're all from 9/11, September 11th?
Not explicitly, no. Yeah, I understand what you're saying because in the Scott Bingham request through Judicial Watch, 85 videos, and most of them weren't even around the Pentagon. So,
But we were really specific.
Yep.
I mean, Mick made sure to, cross every T and dot every I because
yeah.
he didn't want to give them another out like this.
Yep.
Right.
And
So we don't really know that the 100 are from 9/11 itself.
yeah, let me explicitly what they said. Additional 100 video of this material has not been reviewed. The media doesn't contain time to. Yeah, it doesn't explicitly say it's from around the Pentagon, but
that's what
in
you
which
asked
case,
for,
if
though.
there were tens of thousands,
oh, that's
then
exactly what I asked for. So yeah.
Yeah.
if they whittled it down from thousands to 100, on what basis, if they didn't have time or distance information, did they whittle it down to 100?
Right.
I
And
mean, that's a really important
Good question.
my heart
Yeah.
just fluttered a little bit. Excuse me. Miss Casazza, Patty has joined us. So grateful. Good to see you, ma'am. That's an honor, truly. Boy. So that was about the news. At this point, I open up the table for discussion, and I do want to say what
No, go ahead.
I do want to say what I really appreciate what Mick said in one of his calls here. All participants are expected to listen to and be respectful of every other participant, even those with whom they disagree. Participation in participants will not be represented to reflect agreement with me or anyone else or anything. This is not a forum to criticize or attack anyone in the 9/11 Truth movement. And I appreciate what he said on the call explicitly. He said, this is a discussion, not a deposition. So it's pretty good.
And I don't know if you still wanted to address exactly those points about when on a different call it was said that you were censoring and that you were so I don't know if you still want to get into that.
I hate to get into this, but real quick, somebody said on another call that we censor and then we boot people out because of what they talk about. Never done that about what somebody talks about. It's about the behavior only. So we just asked for civil discourse. Asked if I edit videos. Yes, I do edit videos. I take out a lot of my ums because I say a lot of times. I go in and I'll replace videos so they don't skip, because when I show them streaming, they skip. So I put in the originals. And there are times when I don't feel that I want to promote something. So I do remove those. And that's, I mean, every other podcaster does that in the world, from Clayton Morris to Tucker Carlson, or all of them. That's why I invite people to be here for the live discussion. You can hear it live, but I am under no obligation to make that public to everybody else. So that's my little thing.
Yeah.
And a couple of things that I guess I want to point out that and there I go. I'm saying too much. What Mick said on irrefutable evidence. Somebody had brought up the fact that dancing Israelis and just left it at dancing Israelis being irrefutable. We get into the habit of saying that Israel did it. While they may have, the only irrefutable evidence we have is that they had foreknowledge of the event. But we don't have solid evidence that they actually perpetrated the event. So it's difficult. When you say dancing Israelis, we got to be specific because we can get ourselves caught.
Mick was underlining the fact that it absolutely shows foreknowledge. It does not make them complicit. And legally speaking, that's a very big difference. So there's a lot of things that from that perspective, we don't know. These are legal things that have to be weighed very carefully by, you know, someone like Mick would know what will fly and what won't. And those are distinctions that we don't always make.
Yep.
Well, I'd like to make a comment on what Mick said that I think is crucially important for anybody who can't watch over 3 hours. And that is that the Psy report, the way it's now expected to be structured by the group of 5, which is good, it's great, is the lead section will be on what they consider to be, and will document it, why, is irrefutable evidence, incontrovertible evidence. The second part, what he calls the roadmap for future investigation, Senator Johnson subpoenas, FOIAs, etc. That's where a lot of this could go if they choose to, because they're leaving it open for future investigation, but they're giving a roadmap for that. So I think that's a really wise way to divide the report.
And I asked Mick on the last call for that roadmap section if he would consider adding the fact that Howard Lutnick is now the Secretary of Commerce that oversees NIST, to push maybe subpoena Howard to say, hey, we need these files because the UAF released their models and it didn't jeopardize anybody's life. So that one, and then whether or not we could subpoena Jay Clayton, the current U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, to continue with the grand jury request for the 60 exhibits for the controlled demolition of 1, 2, and 7, which is sitting on the shelf somewhere. So we'll see.
And Mick just basically said that was a very interesting proposal. So clearly, I mean, we didn't know when Gene proposed it, is it even legally possible? And he seemed to think that it could be. And even if nothing comes of it, even if...
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
you'll say it better than me.
Maybe. Probably not. That even if they don't give the information that a grand jury... Because, step back. Under the law, 18 U.S.C. 3332, they are supposed to present that evidence to a grand jury, but they're not legally obligated to tell whether or not that grand jury was even impaneled or the results of that grand jury. So maybe Ron Johnson and the senators, Congress, can see that information or at least know that the grand jury happened. But if even he's not told about something, that would show this, black hole of secrecy, which might make him a little bit more skeptical of what's happening there. So even if he doesn't get information, it might put us in a better light with him and the stance of trying to get justice.
Either which way, we have nothing to lose.
It also is a kind of cocked gun to the head of the U.S. attorney in Manhattan. I mean, it puts him on notice that the head of the Senate investigation is watching. It should be done. It should definitely be done. And I believe that Patty
Casazza.
Yeah, so great to have you on, Patty. I believe that Patty recommended to Mick towards the end of the Zoom yesterday that she would like to see Howard Lutnick subpoenaed as well.
Yeah, Patty, I don't know if you were on when I had covered that story real quick. I just showed that you had made a second request to Edie Lutnick
Yes.
and
Mhm.
hadn't heard an acknowledgement or
Nothing.
anything.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, I will put in a third request. I put in phone calls. This is where we're at. I mean,
Thank you for trying.
they're not under obligation to, contact me back, but you would think that the administration would be, especially because Howard's in where he's in, that he would address the issue, at least to say, I passed your information on to someone.
Yeah.
I mean, we've given them so much leeway. I mean, it's they're into their second year. I mean, when are we supposed to actually get some justice out of any of this? As far as 9/11, Howard should be all over that as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And, he's not.
Well, it's kind of like the case of the dog that didn't bark, right?
Mhm.
He should be barking. And if he's not, that tells you more than you need to know.
It's disturbing to say the least.
Mhm.
And please forgive me because maybe somebody here doesn't know who you are, which would be shocking to me. But if somebody doesn't, Patty's one of four that have became known as the Jersey Girls.
Oh, boy.
Sorry.
Picture.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
There's my husband.
Yes. So you got Patty Casazza on the end, Lori Van Auken, Mindy Kleinberg, and
Kristen Breitweiser.
yes.
Yeah.
And their husbands in front of them. Forgive me for showing that, but
Yes.
they were part of the family steering committee in the very early stages, forcing George Bush to do something. One of the funniest stories I heard is when he wanted to appoint Henry Kissinger, and they pressed Henry Kissinger and said, "Don't you have some ties to Bin Laden's?" To which he spilled his coffee and fell off the couch, basically.
Yes,
And
basically, he spilled the coffee all in front of us.
He
We were
resigned
trying
like
to
in 24 hours, right?
say again.
He resigned right after that as head of the commission.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
I mean, I guess he might have felt that we were a little bit too aggressive. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he should have expected that,
Well, he underestimated, what can these four girls possibly have on me? And it's like,
Well, it wasn't just the four of us. There were
Yeah.
8 others from different states,
Yeah, I always got confused on that because Monica Gabrielle.
She was from Connecticut. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. All right.
So, I mean, we all, came to that place with different stories of loss and backgrounds and everything else. And I would have thought, especially, I mean, there were people from the DC area, working as lobbyists, lost their wives and whatnot. And what would you expect? We've been studying this for 441 days before this ever was going to even be established. We learned a lot.
And you also didn't get many answers.
No,
Yeah.
no.
And
Very-
you guys are in the video. What's called Truth.
Press for truth.
Press
Yeah.
for Truth. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great
I mean,
one,
a
yeah.
lot of that information now is probably outdated. We've learned so much more just from the truth groups and our own due diligence and research. And so we moved away from that. I mean, just like we moved through a lot of information that we have seen along the way, you grow with it.
We appreciate you so much. I couldn't even begin to express. We do this in hopes to try to honor you guys. That sounds so cliche in a way, but
Yeah,
we
it
really
sounds
just,
sweet. Yeah.
yeah, I don't mean it like that. We really honor you guys. I don't know why it resonated with all of us like it did, but it did. And we really just want to see justice for you and your.
Nobody wants to experience what we experience, and I don't want you to either. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the bottom line.
And
So,
Our heart's in it.
Beverly Eckert, she had a famous quote saying that if somebody doesn't figure out what happened here, this won't be 3,000 people next time. It'll be 10,000 people next time.
well, yeah, and then she died on that Kogan, I think it's how it's pronounced, airline.
After meeting with
Tragic.
Obama, yeah.
Tragedy on tragedy. I was like, oh my God. I went
All,
to the funeral and it was just god awful.
all four of your husbands worked for Cantor Fitzgerald, correct?
Uh, no, Kristen's husband worked for a fiduciary
Ah,
trust. The
okay.
rest of us, that we were all Cantor widows. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for
Patty, are
joining.
you still in contact with the Jersey girls? Do you get together?
You know what? We've all had, various ailments, family issues. So not on a daily basis. And, some of us are not doing this anymore because their lives have gotten that much more complicated, just like,
Yeah.
happens to anyone over time. So not everyone, no. And I would not involve them in anything because that's personal and everybody's had enough on their plates with what's happened in the past and then
Yeah.
compound that over the years. If you
Have
can
you
just
read, I'm
imagine.
sure you have, but have you read this wonderful book that's based upon your Jersey Girls list of unanswered questions called 9/11, The Unanswered Questions?
I don't think I ever saw it in book form. I mean, we had built a website a long time ago. I don't even know if one of the other family members.
Oh my God, there's a wonderful book by a Canadian author. He spent years answering your unanswered questions in book
Oh,
form.
really? I kind of gave up on a lot of the books out there because, you get into it and you go, well, he sounds like a spook trying to
Well, this is
defend,
one
his
directly
position.
related to you and the
Okay,
Jersey.
I'll look for it. Yeah.
Oh, here,
Yeah,
Rick.
it's called 9/11, The Unanswered Questions. And who's
9/11, the unanswered questions.
Is
yeah,
it this
who's
one,
the
Barb?
author? Who's the
Mm-mm.
author
It
again?
doesn't say 9/11.
Well,
It talks
Oh,
about the
just
Freedom Convoy and the Emergencies Act. That was but there is 9/11 in the
yeah.
I don't
Ray
know.
McGinnis, maybe?
Ray
I don't know.
yeah, Ray
McGinnis, Barb?
McGinnis.
Okay,
Ray
then that's it.
McGinnis,
Uh-huh.
Unanswered Questions.
Unansweredquestions.ca. I haven't read that either, but all right.
Oh,
I
it's
got a bunch
very
of hands
important.
up. And again, I'm sick, so if you guys don't mind trying to keep this one a little short, but please feel free to discuss whatever you'd like. So let's go to Magnus first.
Thank you, Gene, and great to see you, Patrick. And sorry for the loss. I hope we can get some justice soon. Gene, I have no, you know what? We just take it next time. We don't have any time this time either, Gene.
I appreciate that, Magnus. And I know Magnus is from Norway. He usually has a bunch of little video clips for us. If you don't mind, if we'll just wait for next week on those ones.
And thank you for being so
Yeah.
gracious.
Yes.
You always bring your clips, you always do your work, and sometimes we just run out of time to do them, and you're always very understanding, so we appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Norway.
Great.
Jane, sweet Jane.
Thank you. I just have a quick question. I was interested in, to be clear about the link to watch the Mick Harrison teleconference that Barbara recommended at the beginning.
Yes, it's at 9/11 Teleconference.
No slash, of course. Yeah, 9/11 teleconference.
.substack.com.
Thank you.
You're very
Yeah, and
welcome.
I highly recommend watching it all. But if you just wanted to watch one part, watch Patty. It's wonderful. It's unbelievable. It's heart-wrenching. It's incredible. And
Thank
if
you.
you just use the horizontal time bar until you first see her when she's talking for a long time, it's towards the end.
I just put it in the chat if anybody wants to get it there.
And Barb, you didn't see the first time she was on tap, that very first call.
Oh boy.
When that was the first one, and
That went
half
3.5
an hour.
hours.
But half an hour into Patty talking, I was sitting
yeah.
there
We're
bawling.
both bawling our eyes out. Yeah, that was
I'm
rough.
sorry about that.
No, not at all.
We're sorry.
It's a reminder
Yeah.
of exactly why, because we get desensitized sometimes, we're
Yeah.
Why we're
I'll
doing
just
what
say
we're
something.
doing.
I'll just say something before, we're heading towards 25 years. And I know, you get used to talking amongst yourselves, but, if you really care about what happened, it happened to us. it's a really sensitive time. And I just want you to be aware of how you speak about what happened. And you may not like all the personalities involved in the conversations you have or have online. But just be aware that this is more than, you know, what you do here. And it involves a lot of people with a lot of families that have been tragically torn apart by these events. So just think about that when you're making your comments. You
Thank
know,
you for the
some of them-
reminder.
yeah, some of them are not that helpful.
No,
So two things on that. Glenn Corbett, you may know who he is, has
Yep, I
said
do.
he mentioned to us that, you know, you guys have to understand, you guys showed up in black shirts down on the corner at Church and Vesey screaming 9/11
in
was an inside,
2005, he's
Yeah.
talking.
screaming 9/11 was an inside job. How do you think that came off to the victims' family members that were there just to mourn their
You know what?
their loved ones?
Some of them are just so gimmicky. You know
Yeah,
what
I get
mean?
it. And a lot of the memes, like they'll show the Wile E. Coyote making a hole in the side of the building, and it's just, oh, that's so desensitive. The
Yeah.
people that lost their lives in those. So we really watch
Yeah,
what
it
we
kind
put
of
out.
is. I won't lie.
Yeah.
I mean, but sometimes it's more just the banter that I see between people, and then you go,
Yeah. Well,
I'm trying to get better at that. As you may know, me and Norman go back a ways, and we both didn't really care for each other. But Mick is the standard on how to moderate a call and talk to people, and I really appreciate what Mick did
yeah.
there.
I mean, I can appreciate him, what he had to say, but you know, I could there's a lot of pushback that needs to be said about that. If you're, you know,
I hear you.
you're not open to the evidence that Judy Wood presents, to my estimate that this is just then going to be another psyop, another crime upon a crime.
I hear you.
Don't need that.
I got you. I get. Yeah.
we
Jean,
got,
could you put the link to the TAP?
oh boy.
I'll have to go
presentation
search for
Yeah,
that. But yeah, I can
that
do
goes
that.
back a while.
In the show notes,
In
I'll
the
put that
chat?
in.
Thank you.
In the show notes, I'll do that because I can't do that right now, but I will.
Yeah. I mean, the other issue besides Judy Wood being kind of excommunicated from a lot of the groups, there was another study, another QTAM by Morgan Reynolds about the planes versus no planes. And everybody can scoff if they don't like the idea that there were no planes, but the digital information is out there that says that the planes that we were all told about flying around on 9/11 did not hit their targets. I'm not discounting the fact that there were not planes on that day, perhaps with those, tail numbers and everything else flying around. But you have to respect digital communication too, that people can't interfere with. And if you're not willing to look at it, then
Yep.
I want to know what happened to the people on those planes.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that if I have an idea of it, that they were landed somewhere and God only knows what happened to them. My concern is we don't discount because we saw images of planes going into buildings that's where they died, and then people told us they found DNA, they found passports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It has yet to been proved.
There's a lot that still stays open. I mean, there's, I don't think anybody else here doubts that the planes could have been, that those were not the planes, that it wasn't AA-11 or UA-175.
Well, it could have been holograms as well. I mean, these are the issues that you have not, no one has resolved.
But we're very serious about them, Patty. We're very serious about the digital evidence and other evidence, lots of other evidence. It's in my own presentations and has been for 14 years, that the planes were swapped.
Were swapped? With
planes,
what? With what though, Barbara? I'm sorry.
I don't, if you're interested, I can send it to you, Patty.
Well, with other planes, Barbara.
But what's the gist of swapping? Where did they get swapped to and from, and
that the planes that ended up at least at the World Trade Center towers and the Pentagon were not the ones that left the airports.
Well,
In the process-
the ACARS data, and I always forget what the acronym means, but basically says those planes were still in the air when they should have, been destroyed by hitting those targets. So in
but
other words,
that's exactly the point, Patty. They were in the air and they were swapped for other planes.
I do appreciate that,
don't-
but we're not going to solve
yeah.
it here, guys, and we're going to kind of
but
into the
what's,
weeds.
but Gene, then what's the point of talking about it?
Oh,
If
no, I agree. There's
we
definitely
can't have an open conversation. I'm just having a little conversation with Barbara. You don't have planes that hit steel structures and concrete structures and stay intact like they get absorbed into the building. That's not reality. That's not how physics works. I mean, we're all adults. It's okay. It's okay to say they duped us. They duped us bad with what we saw on that day.
I think we all can agree that we were lied to that day, and that planes and ensuing fires did not bring those towers down.
Regardless of what really happened with the planes,
Us all trying to figure it out is the tough part. Yeah.
the towers didn't come down from fire.
Yeah.
It's all important. How could you just say it's just the towers coming down though? It's all important.
Oh,
No,
definitely.
No, all four events are important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Patty, if you would like the evidence for plane swaps, I will send it to you. I'll get your email from Jean.
Well,
We
I don't
don't
have it.
But Barbara, can you say for certain you saw planes go into those buildings? They should have broken apart based upon just the speed that they were supposed to be traveling.
Yeah. We're getting into it because I have Boeing engineers that say it was definitely below the VFO, that it could have stayed together in a shallow dive. We're getting into the weeds and I appreciate this conversation that they do need to be had, but that's really not our.
It's not weeds to me. It's not weeds to say that.
Yeah, Patty, I get it, but the purpose of our call in the war room, and people get that mixed up, is our main purpose is 9/11 news strategy and activism, and there's definitely a place for it.
I mean, I just don't feel that. I think you're missing a boat. I think you're missing a boat on a lot of information that a lot of people would be interested in, because they haven't maybe had the headspace until now, 25 years distance from the events, to actually now hear the evidence. It's all very comfortable amongst us to discuss, but it's not being shared with the broader American public and international public. Now's the time to share it so that everyone can understand there's so much more to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's been out there for a very long time, Patty. I'm going to give you my email address.
It's been out there in echo chambers, Barbara. I beg to differ. I mean, I'm only trying to be the human aspect of what happened down there. And
I understand. You need to understand that we would love for our information not to be blocked by the government, the mainstream media.
But
we don't want to be an echo chamber.
But it's also blocked by each group. I mean,
no. But anyway, if you would like the information about the plane swaps
if you could put it online on here, maybe I could see it. Access it.
Put your email in the chat, Barb. If you.
I'm sorry, what?
Put your email in the chat for her to get to.
Okay, I will put my email in the chat, and
Thank
then you email me, and I will send it to you.
All
okay?
Right.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you. And again, I don't propose people ignore anybody or anything. I definitely think in the other conversations, other chat groups, other podcasts, feel free to explain that. But we're trying to keep this at a more high level of, okay, what would you do in a war room? Where are these battles being fought? So we discussed the FOIA request. We talked about the PSI permanent subcommittee investigations.
The anniversary organizing.
The anniversary that's happening in this September in New York City. Like, what are we actually doing? Where are these battles being fought right now?
The various cities. We've got Boston 9/11 Truth. That's a very dedicated chapter among the cities. One of our really longest running ones. And we have others who will share what they're doing in their own cities, the initiatives that they're putting in place. And we share and we motivate each other and we encourage you, give each other ideas. of what someone else might, and everybody's got different tools and different abilities and access to stuff. So it's going to be different for everybody. And
Well, I don't understand the why it's different for everybody. We should be at 25 years, we should have a better idea of exactly what happened and present as a united front rather than these different factions.
The difficulty, and I hate to quote this, and everybody here has heard me quote this, Bill Cosby is a terrible person to quote, but he said, I don't know what the key to success is, but the key to failure is trying to please everyone. And it's really difficult in a 9/11 truth movement, the greater 9/11 truth movement, to get everybody to agree on certain things.
If I can just add, I mean, we are all adults who, for some reason, like Jean said, this resonated with us, even though we were not affected by it directly like you were. And we have followed, each of us, I think, sincerely, the path that we feel is the one that resonates with us, the thing that makes the most. I trust other people to use their judgment, to go down those avenues and rabbit holes and check it all out and see what sticks. But ultimately, we can't control what somebody else, the hill that somebody else is willing to die on. And we've had these conversations, and there are people I adore that I fundamentally disagree with, but it doesn't matter, because ultimately we still want to move ahead with what we can do and not get held back by what we can't agree on. So that's kind of what it comes down to.
Well, I don't know. I've been on a few of these calls, and usually the information from Dr. Wood and Morgan Reynolds and others is not even discussed. And I just question the idea that we're trying to get to the truth and or try to bring people to justice.
Yep, I got to get to the hands.
Yeah, maybe I think Susan wants to weigh in on this.
Hang on,
Patty,
Barb.
my email
Barb,
is
guys...
in the chat.
Okay.
My email's in the chat. Be sure and take it off while it's still there.
Okay, I will.
Did you want to address something, Sue, real quick to Patty?
Yes, I do. Just wanted, if I may, attempt to speak for you and Sandra and some of the other forums. Everybody's got a different idea about how 9/11 happened. And, the war room is on every week, and it's kind of a logistic problem that if you have a broad open forum to discuss all your ideas, the call could go on for 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Boston 9/11 Truth does not censor one iota. We do limit it to whatever the speaker addresses. So yes, we would be open to your coming on to Boston 9/11 Truth and, to talk about Judy Wood. But that would be the only topic for that particular night. All right, so it's kind of a logistic problem. Just we can't, if it's a broad open forum like Gene has, he has to limit it to the news and what other groups are doing, and that sort of thing. To leave it broad open to everybody's ideas and debates about how it happened, it would just go on endlessly and get contention.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's information being presented through Senator Johnson, and
I can't address that because I'm not part of the PSA. But I'm just saying, as far as these 9/11 truth groups go.
I do appreciate what Mick said.
Yeah.
Mick said, bring Judy Woods on one of my calls and let's talk to her.
Well, I've discussed him with other groups, and they said they have given him Judy Wood's information. It's, and that's what happens a lot of times. And when I've seen these calls,
yeah, but I wouldn't listen to them. I would try again.
People deny ever having heard of her, having had the information, and they've had it for years.
Well, Mick's an honorable guy. I think if you would send it to him again, if he has he would look at it. So
Patty, consider this an invitation to you officially to come on Boston 9/11 Truth.
Yeah, I have, there's other people that speak to all of her issues, including Dr. Judy Wood, but she's pretty private. But Norman, which I know Jean's not a fan of, he, you know, he's
just because he's
quite,
come at me,
quite
and
informed.
these guys have
He
skimmed
is
the
quite
email chains where
informed, but
he is. He's a
did
very smart
break our-
guy.
He
Hang
broke
on,
our
Sue.
guidelines, so we can't have him on, but I would love to have someone else on.
Yeah, you made that point, Sue. I just want to say a lot of these people have been in the email chains that Norman would include 50 people on. I've been called the C word, the F word. He quotes scripture at the bottom of his emails, and I've had it enough. I made up with them at least twice where we were talking completely civil on a call, and he just goes back into it again. And I can't, I'm open to it. I have not said that I don't believe directed energy weapons. I'll go so far as to say I don't believe it's the primary mechanism. I think it might have been used as another energy source to start it, but I've also looked at the evidence. I don't find it compelling, but I'm still open to it, like Mick said. Again, I don't think there's some things like you don't see exterior deformation. Again, we're getting into the weeds, but I mean, I'm open to anything. I'm open to fourth generation nuclear weapons from what's his name?
The radiation wasn't there.
Well, that's with fourth generation nuclear weapons. Those tritium levels wouldn't be that high, from what I understand from Maxwell Bridges. So
Maxwell Bridges.
Well,
it's a whole bunch of.
tritium is part of the process of the dustification, the low energy, weaponry that was used there.
Mm-hmm.
I
But now
mean,
we're really getting into the weeds, and I love you, but we got to move on. Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that, but I'm going to save them and just make my original comment. But I do want to revisit it at some point, because I think for me the question is, what is the ultimate goal of the cause? Anyway, but I'll leave that unfinished thought and go back to what I wanted to bring up. In the discussion earlier about irrefutable evidence, I just want to make the point to people, and I probably made it before, that the question of the word irrefutable is needs more context, because fact can be irrefutable, but that fact may not prove anything. But the fact may be irrefutable. There's very little. There's a lot of facts that are part of building up a case that, when assembled, they become irrefutable or undeniable. A lot of murder cases are completely built on circumstantial evidence. So each individual piece may not be proof of the guilt of the person on its own, but when you put it all together, it's undeniable. And I just want to say that what Mick shared about this, about the idea of having a second section of a pathway to further inquiry, although there is always the danger that by putting something in that, you're kind of making it sort of implying that it's less clear cut than what's in the first section. But
absolutely.
Okay, but I'm taking what I can get here, I guess, by saying that having such a second section makes it all the more essential that that both the Pentagon and Shanksville evidence get into that document. Because if you have a second section, a pathway to future investigation, and you don't mention the Pentagon or Shanksville, then I think then you're actually suppressing truth by implying that there is no pathway to investigate those two things. So that puts a little bit of pressure on that group. But that's fine. Now, I did want to just make, and I do want to comment quickly before I finish on your statement, Sandra, about that we shouldn't be held back by what we can't agree on. I have a thought on that in a second, but I do want to make a comment about this idea, and I keep hearing it reinforced over and over again, that somehow criticizing other truthers is in and of itself problem is a bad thing. And I think we need to get off of this, honestly, because sometimes people do things that deserve criticism. And if you don't call them out on it, then that ends up being accepted as kind of, the way we should think. And I think there's some very problematic positions that have been taken that need to be challenged. It doesn't mean you're criticizing somebody on a personal level, but you can criticize somebody in terms of evidence without it being a personal attack. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they conflate the two. They think if you mention someone by name, that's the same as a personal attack. It's not. I don't believe it is. It doesn't need to be, I would say. No. So this idea that don't criticize other truthers, and when I went on Mick's call that he had the other day, it's his show. So just like this is your show, that's his show, and and I'm involved in the one on Wednesday. So everybody can make their own guidelines, but it really does restrict what you can say about what's happening in the movement and what's happening with evidence in the movement if you don't allow people to point to problem areas. So I'll just say that, and then I'll just return to your comment, Sandra.
Well, real quick on that one. I think we all agree you attack the evidence vehemently, attack the argument vehemently, but not the person. I think that's all Mick was really trying to say there.
Right, but the problem with that, Gene, is that attacking the argument as if without being allowed to criticize the tactics of when needed. Yes. Means you're essentially treating you're basically saying, I completely accept the honesty and integrity of this other person. I simply disagree with them. There are times when there are blatantly dishonest tactics used, false statements made. And how do you why should you have to tiptoe around challenging those statements directly and calling the person out for their disingenuous tactics? You have to be able to do that.
And the short answer to that, and I feel like we're having the same conversation over again, but the short answer to that is what you perceive as being dishonest or, disingenuous or whatever is someone else's, he's just misinformed or he doesn't, and it just is that way. That is the reality.
That doesn't mean
but
it doesn't mean that both are equally valid. It doesn't mean just because somebody disagrees with you doesn't mean both positions are equally valid.
No, totally. But what I'm saying is, if it was clear to everybody that somebody was acting in a very dishonest way or as a real, jerk or whatever it is, if it was that clear to everybody, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. The reason we're having this discussion is because not everyone perceives something the same way. Even if they disagree with the point of the person, and you have that extra layer of, and I don't trust them. And maybe the other person's like, well, I basically trust them, but I completely disagree with the theory. So those are two different things. And that's why not everybody's going to be on the same page.
Right. But a lot of the reason why people are not able to get on the same page is because they have this I don't know if you want to call it a fear or an aversion to simply accepting that this is not cool what this person's saying. I'll give you an example.
They just don't see it.
Well, they don't see it, but that's what I'm trying to make them see. Okay?
I know, but you can't control what others see.
Can I ask who we're talking about here?
Well, I'm going to get in trouble if I mention names.
Everybody knows who.
Because, this is the way that, things work. But I've been certainly well on record as criticizing a particular group that tries to push the bulk of the official story with respect to the Pentagon, official flight path, flights, the whole deal. And, look, I've been wide open on this before. So David Chandler, Wayne Costi, Francher, Ken Jenkins, right, the whole group. So I'll give you an example. And I'm not going to say who said what or whether it was dishonest. I'm just going to say, here's an example of something where somebody like you guys, if anybody listening should, you're trying. That's cute. That's cute. Yeah. You see how fake my smile was? You see how insincere my smile was? But I'll give you a quick example. And the Pentagon cop, William Legacy, and I've mentioned him before,
I can't get out
who describes, I'm sorry, this is painful for you, Gene, but he describes the flight path in detail. And one of the people that I just mentioned before still maintains that he described the opposite flight path. And we have all the details in an interview. It's all on video. I played it in DC. So should I not be able to challenge the disingenuousness of that statement? He's got the facts. He knows what the guy said.
Yeah, I guess it's an argument over the interpretation of the evidence, which is, I think all you have to do is lay out what you believe it to be, and the audience will make their own decisions. And obviously, if they see what you're saying aligns more with it, it's going to resonate. The truth is going to resonate with people. Yeah. If somebody's telling a lie, that's not going to resonate with people.
Well, yeah, but it is important to call out patterns too.
Fair enough. All right.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right, I got to go move on. Thank you. Wait, you had another point before we got drugged down into that.
No.
Well, I think I kind of blended them together. So okay. I think so I'm good.
Thank you. Michael Cook.
I just wanted to point out that the FBI doesn't call them the dancing Israelis.
The high fivers.
The high fivers. If anybody didn't know that.
Yep, 10-4.
I'm going to go ahead and bail out. I'll see you guys next week.
Hope you feel better, brother.
Hope you feel better, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
I would like to be right behind you, but I got to finish this. I'm not feeling so hot right.
You've got an important position there.
No, thank you. Be well. Ross.
Yeah, good night. Hello.
Hello.
That is. Good evening.
Good evening.
So let's see. I wanted to talk about the monitoring the situation video, but I don't think it's appropriate for this call. What I would address in this call is something that I don't know if you guys are interested in that much, but it's what I'm interested in is one thing is the credibility of each and every individual that calls himself a truther that is out, on these calls, and how we should evaluate each and every individual's credibility. So I would have to say that, obviously I think it has been on other calls that people have said, and I've agreed with, that Jonathan Cole has been captured. Captured. We know what that word means.
All right. This is not where I want to go. As Mick would say quickly, right now, let's not speak ill of other people. And I just said at the beginning of the call, I don't want to speak ill of other people in this call.
Well, I'm not going to speak ill. I just called him captured. And
that's Wayne speaking Cosby ill of him.
That's not necessarily ill. I mean, maybe he's trying to save his ass. Okay, he's trying to live.
That's not good either.
So I'm not. He's done a lot of good work. All right. So how about if I preface it? Also, he's done a lot of good work. Wayne Cosby has always been, since he graduated from college, I believe he has always been part of the covert operations of the CIA. I think he's been captured right after college.
Okay? Ross, this is not what I want to do. This is exactly what Mick said he didn't want to do, and I don't want to do it either.
Muddied the water. And then there's only one other person. Did I say Jonathan Cole? I did, I think. A lot of people have said this about Jonathan Cole too, that he's been captured. I think he's done a lot of good work. This is not
a forum to criticize or attack anyone in the 9/11 Truth Movement, Ross. I'm going to ask you not to do that anymore. I'm going to move on.
He's done a lot of good work, okay, too. I'll just say that. And then, but what I want to say is I think it is important to evaluate everybody's credibility on those guidelines I just presented. And anyway, I'm going to also use this as my signing off time. In terms of the activism, I've got a new thing that's coming that I'll give you a little just clues on.
Cool.
I've got a quick, I'm doing the skateboard around New York City, 500 miles a year, basically. And that's called Constant Reminder, the skateboard, because it reminds people every day on the streets of Broadway and down at Ground Zero at the memorial about the fakeness of the official story of September 11th. So I've done that. But I've also got a new one coming out that we should all try and emulate with I call, as part of my Truth Towers volunteers, TTV groups, Truth Trike volunteers. And this is the clue. Truth Trike volunteers, but the title of that is going to be the consumer reminder. So you have constant reminder that's always on the streets with the skateboard, but the Truth Trike is a consumer reminder. And next week I'll show you pictures of that. So anyway, everybody have a good night.
Wait, don't leave yet, because I wanted to share. We mentioned it last week on the War Room. I want to make sure you're aware as an engineer. Somebody in Chicago wants to rebuild the Twin Towers, World Tech Center, they're going to call it. And they've already started working on drawings, floor plans, elevations, column designs, shop drawings. Like, it's out there. If you haven't seen it, take a look. It's at World Tech. Where'd it go? WorldTechCenter.org. So check that out, Ross. Thank you.
Yeah. Quickly, I guess I'll comment on that. I'm not sure what you're talking about. They're rebuilding towers, is what you're saying?
Yeah, this he's moving forward. He's getting funding. The Twin Towers.
Number 4, it's a Silverstein project?
No, this is the Chrysler Design Bureau.
Yeah, good luck with Silverstein.
Well, I think, and the designs are different, as I pointed out last week. And here, the tower's vertical steel box columns are concrete filled, which the Twin Towers concrete were not. The box tube columns were not concrete filled. So there are going to be, I think they're basically designing it differently structurally, but it's going to look the same on the outside. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess it's
and I know this is offending victims' family members.
I didn't realize that. That's very interesting. As I've been saying, rebuilding the towers, as I've been saying about rebuilding the towers, it is going to happen. It's the irrational desire of humanity to rebuild those towers. And for me, again, that's the priority. I have respect for the firefighters. I have respect for the bankers' families. It's a much bigger issue than that, in my opinion. And how do you symbolize and make that come to fruition in humanity is by rebuilding the towers. So it's going to come around in a lot of people's heads. And I'm glad to see it's coming around in some kind of official context, other than my own little 30-foot tall towers.
Yeah,
but the purpose isn't going to be for business or the environmental ecology and the efficiency of the towers. Anyway, good night.
Good night, sir. Yeah, this blog was just updated the 21st. So this is actively a project that's moving forward, and it's shocking. And I need to learn more about
Chicago, right?
Chicago.
Yeah.
Anyways, the Chicago Loop. I don't know what that is, but that's where they're proposing to build it.
They're just asking for another attack on those buildings.
Yeah. Anyway, Jetty from Scotland.
Yeah, hello. Hopefully, I'm coming through.
Hi.
I'd just like to. I mean, on that project with the towers there, I've asked them already. I'd like to see the difference that the inclusion of concrete would make to how much the columns are going to shorten. And that's they've not got back to me yet, but it's a pretty big question, really, in terms of the construction, because they're going to shorten more because they're under more load.
That's a lot more weight, yes.
So therefore, the core columns are going to have to shorten the same, otherwise the floors will be squint by the time they get up higher. But I don't want to get into that set of weeds. I wanted to talk a little bit about the no planes thing and the hologram thing, and I think you have to take everybody as being absolutely genuine in their beliefs, that you have to treat people that, even if I personally think that the hologram thing, it just doesn't hold water because of the way that the buildings reacted. They reacted to a kinetic impact. But I think you have to treat people, whether you believe it or not, you have to treat them as if that their beliefs are genuinely held beliefs, and that they're expressing something that they genuinely feel should be put forward. And if you do that, you then find that, and getting into that, and to Craig's point, if you feel that somebody is being entirely disingenuous, then in a debate, that makes it far easier to attack them with facts and good evidence, rather than attacking the fact that they're being disingenuous. Because if they're being disingenuous, by that fact that they're being disingenuous, they're leaving themselves open by employing whatever logical fallacy that they are. And it comes down to, if you treat people like that and you have to argue against them on that basis, then we do actually get to the evidence which has most purchase on the general public. And when you see arguments that cause the kind of division within a progressive movement and then they impede progress in a movement, those generally are not the arguments that are going to take us forward toward the resolution. And that's not to say that you disregard them entirely, but at the same time, they're not the arguments that are going to get you toward that finish line. And if you get to that finish line, then that's time for them to be considered, because they're going to get wider scrutiny by a bigger bunch. And I've debated with Norman. I had I think it was 2 hours I debated with him about 3 weeks ago. There are issues to do with these structures that the whole hologram thing just cannot address. And it cannot address it because it doesn't line up with observed events. And these aren't events that are manipulated in video. These are real events, and their building is reacting to a kinetic impact. So, and I suppose, Patricia, with all the respect in the world, then I just wanted to say that I have totally discarded anything that Judy Woods has to say. But that's only because I've spoken to her, and that's only because I spoke to her and Jim Fetzer way back, I think it was 2006 at length. But I just wanted to say that I didn't discard those ideas without scrutiny. You know, that it's something. And if you believe that's disingenuous of me, I would only ask you to pay me the respect of knowing or believing that what I'm saying is a genuinely held belief to what will get us the resolution that you deserve.
I respect you for your belief, but we have to go with the evidence, and most of the evidence that I have seen was as far as remote controlled demolitions, thermite. The information in those areas does not comport with the evidence at ground zero. I mean, the total dustification. I mean, if it was controlled demolition, we would have had much more rubble. We would have had probably more survivors, which was really important. Would have liked that for myself. Dr. Judy Wood showed an awful lot of information that I have not seen from the other groups at all. I mean, I see Richard Gage is listed here. He's been promoting the same information for 20 something years now.
Developing, I think, would be a better word.
No, I understand your point there, Patricia. What I would say to you is that my own research group, but I think we can prove that mass was removed from the columns below the point of impact, and really we need to go no further than that if that is proven.
Couldn't those columns been removed by directed energies as opposed to just demolitions?
Why? But if you can prove structurally that the mass was removed from below, I don't believe it matters actually the means by which that mass was removed.
I think it's a tremendous amount. Can you just hear me out?
Yes. Yeah, sure.
If that kind of energy weapon can be used and can be hidden from the public for 25 years, and the fact that they could go out and use that again and again on people because you can't see it happening is horrifying. At least, I mean, if we're going to say that this is a false flag event, shouldn't we know at this point in time, 25 years later, shouldn't our government be at least able, I think they are using it elsewhere, like in Venezuela and whatnot. Shouldn't we be able to come to the conclusion that they have developed weapons beyond our knowledge and capability, but the evidence left behind purports that there is a new technology out there, and that basically we should all be very afraid of it.
Okay. Well, accepting that, but what you're saying, but in light of what I said previously, I think we need to get to a point where we say it wasn't fire and plane impacts that brought the building down, and then we address what the cause was once we've proved that. You can't jump all the way across this river. Yeah. Even if you're on the other side of the bank.
I respectfully disagree. It's 25 years.
Yeah, but in one aspect, you're asking to
the facts.
Respectfully.
Go ahead.
Respectfully, though, you're asking to skip to one mechanism.
But we haven't skipped. Richard Gage has been out there for years.
Yeah, but you're saying to discount
I have grown with the movement and the ideas and the technology that is out there. I sincerely doubt that our government is going, well, they're going to spin those wheels for another 25 years. Yes.
Yeah, but you got to look
great. We don't have to worry about them, uncovering what we did on 9/11.
Yeah, but you're convinced of one mechanism while ignoring another.
I'm not ignoring another.
My sentence, because then in the same aspect, you're claiming that these people are ignoring your evidence, and it's basically two people claiming the same thing of each other.
I'm not ignoring controlled demolition. We've all seen it, and and it could have been a component of 9/11, but nothing in controlled demolition justifies 210-story buildings, 500 tons of concrete, steel, all of the office equipment within. The bodies, half of the bodies were not even found. I mean, controlled demolition does not explain that.
But it does.
No, it doesn't.
And I can share with you how it does if you're interested in hearing it.
Oh, Richard, I have read all of your stuff.
I've read Judy Wood's book from beginning to end.
Really? Because you denied knowing it. You said it was space beams and all this other garbage. It's witchcraft.
Patty, that was 15 years ago. And I disagree completely with Dr. Judy Wood. And I've made my my views item by item, and so has Jonathan Cole, regarding her book and her theories and her points. And I don't think this is the place to do it again, but I would be happy to talk with you and listen to all of your points.
Richard, you've been profiting off of 9/11 for a long time.
I don't.
And that's fine. You know what? Everybody has to make a living.
That's not a fair.
It's not fair.
That's not a fair statement.
Not a cent.
Okay, I don't know where you get your salary from then, if this is what you do for a living.
Salary is not profit. And
well, in my way of thinking, it is. Everybody who's making business out of 9/11 is profiting.
Can I just say that my own research group has achieved quite a lot in this field. We haven't taken a penny. We came out with the Building 7 evidence back in 2012. If we hadn't, and I mean, I disagree with Richard on lots of things. If we didn't have Richard with his group stepping in, then we wouldn't have the Alaska project, because there would have been nowhere else to take that evidence. And as much as I disagree with Richard on many points, that route was there, and we couldn't have got that study done. But just to say about the towers, if you can prove that mass was removed from below the point of impact, then you've proved that they were brought down in a controlled manner by means other than impacts and fire. And that's enough. That's enough to...
Not enough for me. It's not
okay,
enough for me.
I respect
I want
that.
to understand all the information.
So there.
And if
well,
Richard does
listen.
not want to look at the evidence fully,
okay,
that's a whole other
well, listen.
And you're
listen. No, I'm not gatekeeping.
No, I'm not saying you,
Yeah,
but I'm saying
yeah,
those
okay.
who promote
Well, listen,
theories.
I'm going to invite you. Barbara's got my email address. If you want my email address, I could alleviate you from that from what you believe about Judy Wood, right? And but listen, I'm asking you to be as open-minded as you're asking me to be.
I've been open-minded for years.
You've never talked to me.
Ages
Look, I got a full set of structural drawings for these two buildings from NIST when they were looked out for decades. Every structural drawing that there is. I've got 2 models of the building, and I have looked at it. So I'm inviting you with an open heart and an open mind to say to you, I would gladly take you through that without having to be confrontational and without having to attack what it is you believe, but in the sense that we both approach that with an open mind and a blank piece of paper, because none of the people that you've spoken to have looked at the structural drawings of these buildings. None of them, including Norman. And I respect Norman. I believe that what he says, he holds those beliefs genuinely. I do believe that. And I just wanted to say that I don't see these disagreements as an entirely negative thing. That it's something that we need to get through and make a positive out of it. So I'll leave it at that. And if you want to reach out to me, ask Barbara for my email address, and I'll happily listen to what you've got to say if you listen to what I've got to say. But I've studied these buildings.
I'm very emotional about this.
I understand.
That should not be disregarded, because that's the reason why we're here. There's dead people involved.
Of course, yes. And that's my motivation. And I had been studying this for years by the time I heard about you and your friends. And it is one of the things that motivated me, that emotion there. And I come from a hard engineering background on it. But I'm not a man without a heart, and none of these people here, as far as I'm aware, are people without hearts. And I just so want you to know that we're not pulling in opposite directions. And well, I'm sorry if it feels like that, but we're really not. And I see that emotion there, and my heart honestly goes out to you. Engineering aside, means of demolition aside, my heart goes out.
I have a lot of people. I would bring people in that can speak to all of the issues more.
Well, you can bring anybody in.
You
can bring anybody you like.
Norman, he's done
you can bring.
Lot of, amount of work. Andrew Johnson, Mark Conlon. I mean, those would be the people that I would want.
Okay, well, I'll challenge, not you. I'm not challenging you, but I'll challenge any team that you can put together to take me on in an open debate about the engineering of these buildings and the reactions on the day. And let's leave it at that, because I don't want you to get so emotional at it. But that challenge is there, and I know more about these buildings than anybody on this call. And I've got, and I'm. Okay?
I would agree with you.
Yeah. Patty, it's Barb. My email is in the chat.
Except for maybe Richard.
And my email's in the chat, and I'll send you Jerry's email when you email me.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, guys. All right, Mikey Perazzo. You still there?
Hey.
You were trying. Hey,
how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. I have a few minutes to talk. First of all, I wanted to thank Patty for joining us today. Unlike the rest of us, for the exception of Joseph Princiota, I don't think there's anybody else on this call that actually has as much of a tie to 9/11 as her, obviously because of her loss. So I just wanted to, mention that. I also I'm going to turn on my camera for a second, just because I'm driving at the moment, but I'm 31, going to be 32. So I just wanted you to see my face so you knew that I was one of the younger people on this call. When 9/11 happened, I was only about 7 or 8 years old. I was in first grade. For the majority of my life, I believed the official narrative, just like, most people did. I mean, I don't want to say everybody, but, most people. And I really have no ties to the building, no ties to 9/11 other than the fact that one of my uncles worked in the North Tower, but he got out of there. But I have no other ties to it other than being a New York City firefighter was a job I always wanted to do. And it has always made me very angry of how many men were lost that day, as well as more than the official count on that day have been lost since then due to their rescue efforts. And I can understand where Patty's coming from with Judy Wood and some of the other people like Norman, and I'm not trying to be critical of her when I say this, and it might sound not so nice, but I've had a little bit of time to think about how I was going to deliver it while I was waiting. And I think the rest of us in the group might have a little more clarity because we don't have as much at stake as she does. And that's kind of why when Barbara, I think was her name, was talking about the tail numbers being changed. If you listen to one of those calls, there was a lady named Cece Lyles, and she was actually a former cop. And when she was on the phone, like saying her final goodbyes, when she was on the plane in quotations, she said at the end of, the call, it's a frame, which Chris Joya had mentioned to me, telling me that means, it's a setup, it's a frame up, So there's no doubt in my mind that all those planes, Shanksville, the two for the Twin Towers, and the Pentagon, the tail numbers are switched mid-flight, and Captain Don Henley can go over more about that. He's with pilots for 9/11 Truth. I'm not sure if you know who they are.
Dan Henley.
Sorry, Don Henley. Sorry about whatever his name is. Henley is his last name, but if you don't know who they are, you should. Tail numbers are switched mid-flight. And also there's a great 9/11 film. I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy kind of reminded me of Mr. Rogers. He was wearing like a red like turtleneck sweatshirt and basically replaying videos. Do you know who I'm talking about, Gene? And he was showing how it looked like there was like a missile or some type of bomb that was bolted to the bottom of the plane.
Dave
Von Kleist.
What's his name?
David Von Kleist. It's his early video called In Plain Sight. PLAN.
Yes. Yeah, that's the guy. And that seems accurate information, because if you watch the Naudet brothers film, the two French guys that were kind of shadowing Engine 7 Ladder 1, which is a very famous movie, which actually it's interesting. When you watch the film, they're not 100% with the official narrative. That they mention little clues to its kind of BS, like how the marbling blew up in the lobby and yada yada. But they actually have the only official tape of the plane hitting the North Tower, as far as I know. And right before the plane goes into the North Tower, you see a little flash, and that would kind of coincide with that guy's in plain sight video.
Yeah.
So
same thing with Tower 2. Same thing.
There was a flash
same
of
thing
light.
with Tower 2. And basically all I was trying to convey is that we don't have any stake in it, other than, like Jerry said, we have hearts. We want truth. We want justice for the people that died. And we might have a little more clarity because we don't have, the weight of a loss of a loved one hanging over our heads. So That's all I
I
wanted
can
to say.
appreciate the idea of the clarity. But I also think that a lot of these groups have become echo chambers. So they too have lost their clarity and the idea that we're Americans for the most part here. I mean, Jerry's from, I forget, I'm sorry, what country?
Scotland.
Scotland.
Yeah.
You know, I think that an investigation into this should be worldwide, not just our investigation. It affected the world.
Yep.
And to limit it and think that we can basically investigating ourselves, right, as a country. I mean,
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, that's it. And then what are we trying to do? Also justify why we went to war with this place and that, and dragged all the coalition people in with us. Everybody has a stake in this worldwide.
Patty,
Yeah.
there are two facts, it's Barbara.
Well, I'm sorry, say that again. I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Barbara again. I'm the chairman of the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry. And I just want you, I'm just going to give you two big facts that our movement, those of us who are serious about the legal aspects, like Mick. Mick was our litigation director and he's still our litigating attorney. Okay. He's a good guy. Okay. Our movement, in particular the Lawyers Committee and someone else I'm about to mention, have done our very best to date to try to internationalize the legal investigation. Number one, the Lawyers Committee for years worked with Imposamoto, who had been the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the nation of Italy. And he was a 9/11 truther par excellence. We were working with him in the Lawyers Committee, even though he was then the emeritus Chief Justice. The way the system works in Italy, he still was able to work with the magistrate judges who do their own investigation in the Italian system that comes down from probably Napoleon, but who knows? Anyway, it's different than ours. The judges do their own investigations. He was working with them, with us, and then he died. So that's number one. Number two, very important. I don't know if you're aware of this.
He was also big on the investigation of Claudio, or not.
Oh, absolutely.
Claudio.
Yeah.
He not only investigated it, he brought the mafia to justice also.
Right.
In Italy. I mean, he was a serious investigative magistrate chief justice of the Italian Supreme Court. And we did our very best. There were like 24, 25 victims of the planes or the buildings on 9/11 who were Italian. Now I'm going to move to the UK, to the Brits, okay? They now call themselves the United Kingdom. There is an ongoing case to buy a victim's family member, Matt Campbell, and his family.
I'm aware.
To reopen the
spoken to him.
inquest. Okay, to reopen the inquest. And it's cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars that our movement has had to raise. We are very serious about internationalizing this. Okay, so we're not going to give up internationalizing it.
It's great to hear.
I guess we haven't approached. I just asked Rock. Nothing's been formally given to the ICC, International Criminal Court.
Well, there's a reason for that. The United States is not a signatory.
Oh, 10-4.
Yeah. I'm trying to remain open-minded, but I've seen 25 years of lawyers and in the 9/11 arena. It seems like
those are connected to the government, Patty.
Well, okay, but that, lawyers in general that I have dealt with, even beyond this for other reasons, they're more about the money. If they get a settlement, they'll be happy because, and part of what I tried to explain to Matt Campbell, he and I exchanged emails, I think twice, is the fact that, they have a strategy. Generally, they'll tell you. And maybe, the first strategy is saying, oh, it didn't happen the way the government said it happened. Let's use, explosions and demolitions. From what I have seen, if they can get the inquest, it doesn't mean, and I think Matt's very hopeful and idealistic that his lawyers will change their mind after the inquest is hopefully gotten. Hopefully they achieve that that they could invite other investigative material evidence in. From what I have seen on our side of the pond, that won't happen. That won't happen. I have seen the lawyers putter for 25 years on their cases, and basically, if they can get a plea deal, that's what they're going to get. And that's what they're about. And, they'll, give you some gyrations that they're out here for the truth and all the right reasons. And I'm sorry.
One of the things that Mick Harrison will tell you, Patty.
What? What's that?
One of the things that Mick Harrison will tell you in spades, as he's told the lawyers committee and everybody that talks to him about it, as a whistleblower attorney for over 35 years, is that an attorney cannot substitute his or her judgment for what to accept from the other side in a case. That is up to
I don't understand what you mean by that. Could you explain that?
Yeah, it's up to the plaintiff. It's up to the plaintiff.
No, beg to differ there. No. You have, as a lawyer, we went to lawyers saying, oh, maybe, everybody was pointing to bin Laden, Saudi Arabia. So lo and behold, we're suing Saudi Arabia. We had no idea that we could not sue a sovereignty, and it took us 7 years to fight for JASTA legislations, Justice Against
Sponsor of terrorism.
Yeah, sponsors of terrorism.
Patty, are you aware
you have a responsibility as a lawyer for people who just find themselves in these incredibly horrible situations and guide them and say, that's not possible. Sorry. These are the steps that we can take. And then
but it became possible, Patty. I don't know if you're aware of the history, but Mick Harrison and I personally initiated the vision that finally got the 28 pages released after almost 16 years.
Yeah, and I fought right alongside that with all the petitions and all the meetings I had in DC.
Barb, ladies, if you guys don't mind, I got to move on, but I do want to say, Patty, you got a good sense of Mick, and you expressed that at the end of the call. Hopefully we'll just, in good faith, you'll see what he's worth as you talk with him more.
I just hope we don't all pass on by then.
Yes, me too. Thank you. Let's go to Carl. I was wanting to end this one early, and it's definitely not happening. But Carl, go ahead.
Thank you. I have 5 points, which I don't think will.
Oh boy!
I don't think it'll take more than 5 minutes. Which, as long as we've gone on about various issues, I don't think it's unreasonable. First is, I have been remiss in for years having just relied upon watching videos of Christopher Bolin's lectures and interviews. And I'm now reading a hard copy of his Solving 9/11. And I found, apparently via a link in his website, bolin.com, a PDF of it, which I've put in chat. So everyone should at least have the PDF and read it, search for keywords, etc. Point number 2, Andreas von Bülow was something like the Secretary of Defense for Germany at some point in time. And he wrote a book in 2003 titled, and this is also in chat, The CIA and September 11, the International Terror and the Role of Intelligence Agencies. And the Wikipedia entry about that book actually describes the content as, the book disputes al-Qaeda's responsibility for the 9/11 attacks and suggests that it may have instead been a false flag operation arranged by the U.S. federal government and Israel. So interesting that book is still, 20-some years later, only still available in German. yeah, there's no, not even a bootleg English translation I've found out there. It might be necessary to cut and paste into, yeah, AI and generate one nowadays. But I encourage everyone to look at that. I have emailed actually both Mick and Richard about that. Point number four, no, three. Foreknowledge. Foreknowledge is complicity. You were saying foreknowledge is not complicity.
No, it's not what I said.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay. 10-4.
Because that's what Mick said.
Is that what Mick said?
That's what
I'm
Mick
not
said.
sure, Mick. I'm not sure entirely about that. I mean, there is a concept called the misprision of felony, which a normal citizen, yeah, can't really be expected to come forward in advance if they know somebody's going to be murdered. But there's sort of a higher plateau of expectation with, you know, intelligence or government professionals, especially foreign government
For people that
personnel.
don't know, real quick, Carl, for people that don't know what misprision of felony is, it's being aware of a crime and not doing something about it when you're in position of power. Simply, very simply. I'm sure Mick would probably
Right.
correct me.
Pulling
So
out his hair.
Go ahead.
I put the text of this also in chat. Well, there is a concept of aiding and abetting, but these fellows were, two of them were provably Mossad. They were working from Urban Moving Systems, a provable Mossad storefront that was abandoned soon after 9/11. So that puts them in the realm of falling under the being intelligence agents of a foreign government, undeclared intelligence agents, illegal agents of a foreign government. That's a crime. Also, in violation of the Espionage Act, they're there to witness something, yeah, a horrific crime for the purposes of their home government, not here helping us out.
Which, real quick, Carl, on that one.
Please
just
don't
real quick,
interrupt.
I'm just adding to what you said there. So the Lawyers Committee, in their grand jury request, actually had another document called Material Witnesses, to which the high fivers were mentioned in point H. Continue. Thank you.
Yes, and I should add, may I add?
No. Let me finish. Being a material witness is not a criminal violation. Being the illegal agent of a foreign government or violating the Espionage Act are things that could have been charged then. Michael Chernoff let a couple hundred Israeli operatives go back under, quote, visa violations. So enough on that point. Let me go into my number four. Criticism of the arguments of others or the facts that are asserted by others. I find it problematic that that's categorized as personal attacks on people. I think we all need to be thick-skinned because it's being used as an excuse to shut down discussion. And on the final point, going back to censorship, I understand, Gene, your position is you do not censor real time. You allow people to say what they want to say, but you censor the record after the fact. And I just could you confirm whether or not you've ever removed anything I've said?
Absolutely, I've removed stuff after the fact, and so do any other. I guess I'm not the one to appeal to.
Can you tell me what things I have said that you found were necessary to remove?
When everybody got belligerent, I removed all that. Yeah.
It wasn't issue related, was it?
No.
Belligerent.
When people start talking to it, I do request that people just be civil with each other. I understand it's going to get a little bit raucous at times, and we've even done that in here. And no problem with that. It's when
I think I'm among probably the most booted off of.
Yeah, you almost got booted off a Mick's call when he was like reminded you like 3 times. If you keep going,
can you stop interrupting? I mean, my point is that when you interrupt, when you don't allow people to argue a point, an issue, and you term that what, a fighting in the war room, and you boot somebody for that, and then you delete what they've said, censorship after the fact. So you censor the record after the fact. Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So that's again, anybody that puts out anything they've done, I've seen it many times watching Clayton Morris or Jimmy Dore or Tucker Carlson. You watch it live, and then what you see put out is not in the entirety of what it does, of what it is. And I make no qualms with that. And I love people being here live having the discussion, but I don't owe it to anybody. I'm not obligated to continue to what's the word again? I keep forgetting. Promote something that I'm not into. But I will promise everybody on this call, and being respectful with Patty and hearing what Jerry said, he said it so well. On being respectful of where we disagree on things, and that people are talking out of a genuine heart of what they believe. I give my word that absolutely nothing will be removed from today's call.
Well, Nick, sorry, Gene, just for the record, this is my last war room because I don't want to participate in something where the record of what has been said is altered or censored after the fact.
Not altered.
So
not altered.
adios.
I do not alter.
You remove.
There you go.
You delete.
Can I just add something to your
Good adios to the playpen.
Take care, Carl.
Carl, can I say something to you? Can you come back?
He's there. He's just listening.
He's there. Okay.
Oh no, he left.
Not anymore.
Oh shoot. Because I wanted just to add something that was so true as to what he had to say about the Boylan book. Boylan interviewed this professor who supposedly taught Khaled Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11. He was in his classes for like 2 years, and made quite an impression on this professor. So Boylan, once Khaled Sheikh Mohammed's famous bearded picture came out and whatnot, brought a picture of the bearded Khaled Sheikh Mohammed to Clet and says, "Is this the guy you had in your class?" Now, if you had somebody made an impression, you had them in your classes for 2 years, engineering, it's probably very intimate grouping, I'm gathering. And the professor said, "I've never seen that face before." So, the evidence that's been promoted by our government and whatnot, it goes back to the individuals that they're claiming were involved. And all of that evidence is supposedly so ironclad, and it's not. I mean, they had captured someone for the reporter Daniel Pearl's beheading, and he was put into prison for like 20 years. But then somehow our government decided that it was Khaled Sheikh Mohammed who did this, killed Daniel Pearl. And now, mind you, Khaled Sheikh Mohammed confessed to everything. And the government even acknowledged that a lot of what he had to say was white noise under torture. He was waterboarded 183 times.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're talking the heart of the story. And even the idea that he was the one who killed Daniel Pearl, the evidence that they used was vain evidence on Khaled Sheikh Mohammed's hand,
yes,
which is so dubious.
Yes.
But yet it's taken as gospel. I mean, we're talking, this crime is so insidious. And I think it's been run for decades, not just
They're still fighting over it. Yeah, they're still fighting over it in Guantanamo, and whether that evidence is admissible or not. It was under duress. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, they violated every rule out there. Yep. As far as holding those people.
Yep.
Whomever they are. And yet they, as they were supposed to be the worst of the worst, right? But they basically secretly let go over 700 people. There's only 15 men still there.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And guess what? A lot of them have radicalized. I mean, if you were tortured, you might get radical when you go home, right?
Yeah,
right. Might, right? Well, they didn't even inform us. I mean, you want to talk about a crime upon a crime. I mean, my family could have been attacked. We've been told the Saudis have dossiers on the families. Wow. I mean, but nobody worries about us. So, but yet we're paying $44 million a year for those 15 guys left over to be warehoused in Guantanamo Bay.
Yep.
instead of being brought here for trials.
Yep.
There's really not a call for justice. And as much as Barbara wants to talk about the lawyers and all this, the courts are compromised hugely.
We know that, Patty. You have to try, though. We tried.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying all the different avenues. I think
we're not going to give up
with grassroots efforts. We're trying to raise awareness with the public. Marty Hopper, a psychologist, said our two biggest problems are mainstream media and public opinion, to which I took to heart because, mainstream media is dirty. They're not helping us out. Alternative media is trying, but raising awareness, I think we're all doing our part on that. And we tried with Congress. We got Representative Luna on this federal task force on whatever secrets. I have very little hope in that, but that's one avenue.
With her and the Epstein Files, right?
Yep.
We're talking that. Well, Epstein, it's questionable whether he was actually a foreign agent. And it's no joke. I mean, he's in there talking in his emails to Ghislaine, how about, do you want to be on a shadow commission? Well, that had everything to do with the 9/11 Commission. Then he talks about being in a SCIF, the secret compartmentalized information place that they debrief people who have information and whatnot. Who brought him in there? You have to be cleared to be brought in there.
Yeah.
We're talking, this is high crimes.
Yeah.
High crimes.
Yep.
I was in a SCIF. I was brought in. They had to clear me because the Senate and House Intel people, the heads of it, wanted to know what we knew. And yet Epstein, this known pedophile trafficker, child trafficker, is let in there. I mean, these cases are connected as well.
Yeah.
And we should all be truly horrified and a little humbled by all of that.
I put out when we had the what was it, the nuclear thing that happened that everybody was quiet about. Oh my gosh, nobody talked about it, and they were like, "Well, somebody would have talked," but yet 150,000 people didn't talk.
Manhattan Project.
The Manhattan Project.
Sure.
And nobody talked there, and now you have Epstein in his heyday, which would have been blackmailing people around the 9/11 time, and we wonder why people aren't talking.
Even Dennis Hastert, number 3 in line to the presidency. He was charged with pedophilia.
Mm.
It was found out after the fact, but I've heard that people knew.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they wait on these things that they can hold against people.
Yeah.
And then have them discredited. But he got to live a whole nice life after having molested children. That was one of the only good things that came out of the 9/11 Commission, because there was that money amount that you have to know your customer and what they're doing with the withdrawals that they make. He was making withdrawals of $10,000 and paying off one of the kids that he molested.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was 3rd in line to the presidency. That should cause everybody a huge amount of a pause there.
Yeah.
That this person was almost in line for the presidency. I mean, this is bigger, I'm sorry, than all of these groups and whatnot. And Barbara, I hope you're right that this will go somewhere in legal forums. But I think if it's not out there to all the nations to contribute their pieces of information and understanding that this was a big international crime that includes now the Epstein disgustingness.
Yep. I should make a clarification. Raul did correct me because I must have misheard that. It was not Jeffrey Epstein, Ed Epstein, an investigative reporter that was asking her to be on the Shadow Commission, but they were all in the circles.
She's Epstein's lover and co-madam.
Yeah. Yep.
Is Ed Epstein related to Jeffrey or no?
No, they're not related at all. But he did visit him and then wrote an article on him. Yeah, it's crazy. I gotta move on because I really wanted to. I'm not feeling good, but I'm making the best of it. Thank you, Patty. Jack, and then Susie and Craig will go around the room. Go ahead, Jack.
Yes, I want to agree with Christian that the lawyers will not do anything. Just observe our present United States Attorney General. She's sweeping a lot of corruption under the rug. And I've dealt with a state attorney general who was much worse than she is. So, and even if a judge does come out and say 9/11 was an inside job, you know Trump is going to say that he's a scumbag and try to have him arrested and everything. They'll just dismiss it.
It's not going to stop us, though. We're going to keep trying every which way we can. I'm not giving up.
Probably won't get anywhere with that, but anyway,
I'm going to be optimistic. Thank you, Jack.
I mean, he pardoned Giuliani. I mean, enough said. I mean, he allowed Building 7 to house the emergency center. He did not fix the radios that the policemen and firemen had, and that interfered with communication on 9/11. So, and then President Trump goes and pardons him for the, election stuff that he was involved in. But isn't he guilty of allowing 9/11 to happen?
Yes.
In the way it happened.
Yep.
I was a Marine officer, and I underwent a lot of training. And actually, I was an insider because my father was best friends with a senator, and they were discussing all these things at the time. And all these new weapons that come up, can shoot marbles at people. Whatever it is, there's going to be some guy who's going to make 100 million on it, and he's saying, "Try my weapon, please, please, please," And they have all these backroom deals. I've seen them go in the back rooms. They're all beautifully dressed with shiny shoes, and they go in the back rooms and they make these deals. And so I agree that it was definitely directed energy, thermite, all these different things were used, and in Venezuela too. And now this week, according to Trump, we're going to unleash all new technologies on Iran. So these are not going to be just the bombs we know about. They're going to be other things.
Thank you, Jack. Can I move on?
He calls them the great discombobulators or something crazy. Awful stuff.
I'm not referring to anybody on this call. I'm just referring to the public. Schopenhauer says, don't argue with stupid people because they will make you stupid. And a lot of the public are stupid or completely unaware of things. I'm noticing that with this, what's going on in Iran. People just don't know what the fuck is going on. So I don't think they need to know about whether it was directed energy or thermate. Whatever.
No, I beg to differ. Get it all out there. We need to clear the air.
We need to get it out that it was an inside job, and you can use better wording. Nobody likes that, so fine, we get better wording, but we need to get that expressed to everybody in the country, and then they can figure it out, and maybe they'll come out on one side or the other of these arguments. But the fact that it's an inside job, that is the most important thing.
Thank you, Jack. Susie? Before Susie starts talking, Patty, this might be interesting to you. Susie's father was the electrical engineer for the construction of buildings 1 and 2. Go ahead, Susie, if you're there. Trying to get you on mute. There you are.
Hi, everyone. This is really directed to Patty. Patty, first I want to say I so appreciate you being here.
I hope.
You've been on my mind for several weeks, especially at the advent of the emergence of what was revealed in the Epstein Files regarding Howard Lutnick.
Right.
I just want to say I didn't suffer the loss that you did, and my condolences are just ever breathing. In fact, I believe it's my impetus to just keep trudging through this movement. My father lost a dear friend, Frank D. Martini, and colleague.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
And as well as many colleagues in the Port Authority as well as the Trade Center. And 3 weeks before 9/11, I secured a new job right on Trinity Street working for Verizon. and Cantor Fitzgerald was one of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I used to coordinate data circuits for the trading platforms for Wall Street and all the trading firms. But aside from all that, the reason I want to take this opportunity is to, I've been wondering whether or not you might be interested in helping to construct or whatever ideas you have for putting forward a FOIA request on Howard Lutnick. Not really sure how it's going to break down, but it's something I'm losing sleep over, to be honest with you. And as
Now,
far as
is that
justice
with
goes,
regard to the Epstein stuff or to the NIST files? What is that?
it's the fact that he's named a plaintiff in this joint suit against Saudi Arabia, yet he's the only one in charge or oversees, as the Secretary of Commerce, that dire information that we need on Building 7. So it just seems like a contradictory statement right there that he's making, that he could provide evidence that could help that case while he's plaintiff.
We should add real quick, if I got to add, that James Comer, this was March 3rd, announces Secretary Lutnick to appear voluntarily for a transcribed interview. Lutnick will appear voluntarily for a transcribed interview as part of the committee's investigation on the Jeffrey and Ghislaine Maxwell crimes. So he was already there once, but now he's coming back again. And I'm going to continue to try to message anybody on that committee to ask him for those Building 7 models and files. But sorry, I digress. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, Gene. I did want to ask Patty what your feeling is on a lot of the family members in being receptive to an action such as that. And
I mean, I can't speak for everyone. I mean, I think he should be compelled to speak. I mean, it's crazy. I was, I was on a prescription for some happy pills. Okay. God only knows why, right? A little depression. But even my psychiatrist person, she painted myself, my husband, with the Epstein brush because of my proximity to Howard. And I'm like,
ooh,
wow.
Are you kidding me? So is this now the new direction that you're going to, anyone who worked for Cantor Fitzgerald is somehow associated with the Epstein debacle, the debauchery, if you will? I mean, it could be a new little psyop thing going on here. Like it's going to shut me up. Like she goes to me, oh, well, your husband was pretty high up. And I'm like,
wow,
God.
I hope you fired her.
Yes, we're no longer part and parcel. And it's shameful because, these are people that you tell your most horrifying stories to and hope that it's confidential.
Yeah.
Yet for her to say that to me, it kind of...
It crosses the line. It's
It
unprofessional.
crosses the line, and it concerns me that she is going to say things out of school to other people that I'm horrified by. I mean, my husband, here I go defending my husband. He had never more than a week off from work every year, and it was with me. Okay, we did not go to Epstein Island, and
yeah.
Oh my God, just the mere thought of that. And I was duly horrified, but I think Howard should have to, sit in front of a grilling for whatever he's a part of. If he's not willing to divulge information, why?
Great.
I mean, I backed it up 100%. I wrote to his office.
Thank you.
Gene knows that fully. I wrote to Edie, his sister. I have not heard one iota back from him or her.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if you knew this. Edie was a founding member of Terramar, which Ghislaine Maxwell was the CEO of. to
Oh
formulate,
my God.
and Ghislaine
They
had
were
said this.
founders. Yeah.
She
Oh
said
my
this.
God.
She said this on a TED talk where people said this as an international, like, oceanic thing. I want to be clear. She says this is about forming a country. What do you think?
What?
People in those circles in international waters want to form another country for? It's so that they are not under the sovereignty of any other.
untouchable,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're untouchable. It's so
Oh my
sketchy.
God. We got to
So-
bring these billionaires to heel.
So it's really
Really?
sketchy. Like when you're asking Edie, I don't have a whole lot of faith she's going to answer because she's part of it. They all are. It's scary.
Well, I'd like
Thank
to
you for
push.
trying.
Hey,
I
that's
would.
all we can do, right?
Yep.
Yeah. If there's, I'm thinking about the anniversary, and I'm thinking of how maybe it's not a good time to come forward and to ask family members about how they feel about involving themselves or being a
Well,
part of a FOIA request or even knowing about
yeah,
it.
I don't know. I mean, Howard did help us out financially and with our health insurance for a period of time, which I'm grateful for having because I would have been financially ruined. But it doesn't absolve him from having to be called on the carpet for things that he should be.
Well, that's why I think
100%.
I'm finding it strange that he, being a plaintiff in that suit and withholding information that he's the only one that could make us privy to, just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me. So
No, I mean, I didn't realize, yes, I found out after the fact that his townhouse in Manhattan was door to door with Epstein's. That doesn't make him guilty of anything. And he probably, he met him. The whole interview thing was a lie. We all know that now.
Yeah.
He knew him and he went to the island anyway.
Yeah. Here,
whether he knew about it before. That's
say again. I'm sorry. What was that?
I said, and about what him possibly knowing beforehand what was going to take place.
I dread to think that because his own brother died there.
Well,
If he
maybe
did.
if he did, yeah. He might be with Epstein living somewhere. We don't know. I want to share this with you, Patty, real quick, and then I'll let you get back, Susie. This was Terramar Project's website was discontinued, but thanks to archive.org, things on the internet never truly go away. So down at the bottom of the page here, you can see supporting citizens, and one of them was Edie Lutnick. And here is I have 13 seconds where Ghislaine Maxwell says exactly what the purpose of their Terramar project was. She was the CEO at the time. Here we go.
I noticed that my speech today was leveraging technology to create a global ocean community. I'm going to change that on you, and I'm going to leverage technology to create a new country. Now,
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Sketchy in international waters.
Yes, and Evie was a founding member.
Yes.
Founding
Scary.
citizen.
That does not sound
Not promising.
good for anybody.
Nope.
It's not a good look. No.
Susie, any last thing before I go on to Craig and go around the room?
Yes, just one more thing. I just wanted to mention when you were talking about international interests and that just, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but back in 2000, I think it was 11, Richard was invited to Malaysia, and I accompanied him on that trip by the former Prime Minister of Malaysia for a criminalized war conference where Richard gave a presentation in front of 44 ambassadors about 9/11. So, we have to be grateful that there are other countries, because they ended up having a tribunal there, which found the Bush administration guilty of war crimes. So just to let you know that it's not as closed-eyed as you think internationally. These people spend a lot of time. Of course, Malaysia is a huge Muslim country.
Yeah.
And the criminalized war conference was really focused on the wars in Gaza. specifically by the Perdana Global Peace Foundation. But I can tell you, I sat through testimony, Richard can back me up on this, testimony from physicists and scientists and even children who, watched their entire families were obliterated in front of them. But just know that we were treated like royalty when we went over there, and it was a pretty big deal. And Richard, I don't know if you remember the Prime Minister of Italy's name at that time. I can't remember his name.
No,
we have a photo with him.
Are you talking about Imposamoto, the former head of the chief?
No. His name was Giovanni something. He was a prime minister. He was there. He was very interested in Richard's presentation, and had several conversations around the table with the former prime minister with this. But just to let you know that there are people with eyes wide open around, and for them to have to go through that tribunal, because inevitably
that's very important.
Silvio Berlusconi. That sound right?
No, it wouldn't be him.
No, it's on the AE website. There's a picture of I'll find the picture and I'll send it to you, Jean, but it's I can't remember his name. Okay. Anyway, but there were 44 ambassadors there from different countries, and their representatives for this conference.
And in addition to that, Susie, we have spoken in 24 countries. So we really have made an international effort.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. I forgot about Scotland and Ireland and
Japan.
Amsterdam. Canada. Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Patty. I mean, this is an idea that I have. I'd love to run with it, but
it's so hard because so many people, just have tried to move on from 9/11, and we get sucked in with every news cycle about some other horror that's attributed to 9/11, right or wrong. And I cannot speak for them. I have no idea whether more or less people will be interested in that. I mean, I just find it reprehensible that anyone in office, and especially someone who lost their brother at the World Trade Center, would not be testifying and giving up all the information that they have, in the pursuit of truth and justice. But that is, I have 25 years of experience of dealing with DC insiders, and that's not how they roll.
Patty, if I could add this little story here real quick on us trying to find any little way we can expand 9/11 truth and awareness. It was 3 years ago, I got a spam message about an
conference
for the firefighters.
NFPA,
thank you. And thought, we should go and present there, and got Richard on board with it. And we went for 3 years in Boston. It was the first year, second year Las Vegas, third year was in Florida, to which then we got Captain Raul Angulo. He's on the call here. He's a 38-year firefighter. He thought of us as wackadoodles. Everybody, I hear your story, but I just not with it. And he started to listen to some of the information, and he went, and just, this is how things happen. Right across from our booth was the International Fire Safety Journal. This gentleman had Raul write an article, 8,000 words. That got the eye of Kurt Weldon. Kurt Weldon's now raised the awareness of Ron Johnson. So it's we never give up, and we try every which way we can try to raise awareness, and you never know what's going to happen.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yep. Yeah. Amen.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Susie. I appreciate that information. Is that going to be on this site?
Yeah. So for your
Ghislaine Maxwell stuff and all that,
I will send. How do I do that for you?
Can you put it in the show notes, Dean?
Yeah. So that was those show notes were from an old, let me just for everybody's benefit that doesn't know this, and for Patty's benefit, we're on, if you go to 911room.com, it'll put a link to our Rumble channel. And in the description, I put all the show notes, all the news stories we talked about and things. And this was episode 224. I'll just put the link right now in the chat. But in that, it was the link about, I have the link to the archive.org, the Terramar project, and that video that she was just talking about. So,
You know, and I don't know Howard well at all, as I have indicated on your show and others. You know, I met with him afterwards, after 9/11, because he had cut off paychecks that Friday and our health insurance and everything else, and I thought it was pretty, you know, just awful that he could do such a thing. So, you know, the only thing I got through to him was, you know, you're going to lose your business if you don't help the families out. And he did so. And to his credit, you know, that saved me, my world financially. But, and, you know, from that, we got, you know, Christmas cards every year with his family inside, 4 little kids and beautiful family. I don't paint everybody that rubbed elbows with Epstein as guilty of the horrendous things that Epstein has done. But I do want to, I would hold him accountable for any information that he could provide to further the accountability for 9/11.
Yeah.
I mean, and if something comes out, God bless, down the road that he is part and parcel of anything with Epstein, swoop you know, sweep him up.
Yep.
I don't
He
care.
lost 658 people, including possibly his brother. He's lost so much, and why wouldn't he want all the records released? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it would defy any sense of propriety, decency, humanity, you know.
Yeah, we lost 267 Kenner and McClellan, I guess it was, employees just in our county alone in New Jersey, in Monmouth County.
Oh, I was in Monmouth too. Yeah, it was 140, I thought, but you know, didn't.
I got a question, Patty, and sorry, Craig, and sorry, everybody. I keep digressing, but Sandra brought up a good question one time about, they say 2/3 of Cantor Fitzgerald's workforce was lost that day. Do we know any company where 1/3 of the workforce just doesn't show up on a day of work? Like, it seems kind of odd, does it not?
Yeah, they listed like 900 some odd employees for that specific division, and it was 600 and how many who died. So
50.
basically, quick math was like 2/3. And obviously, some people work, you know, maybe they work a later shift, maybe they work weekends, maybe
It
they
was
work
specific
from home.
to. It was specific to that building. You're saying
Yes.
those numbers?
Mhm.
Yes.
Huh.
That seems odd.
Yeah. I can't say,
Okay.
you know, and I'm not saying it couldn't have be, you know, be in the realm of possibility, but they have a lot of international groups, you know, places that, you know, buildings and whatnot. They have them in Chicago. So people are moving in and out of these places that the company existed in besides Manhattan,
Right.
you know, so, oh dear God, I don't want another thing to attribute
Sorry.
to this day.
Thank you. Just go to Craig, and then we'll go around the room.
Yeah, you can consider this my going around the room turn if you like, Gene. So
Thank you, sir.
Kill 2 birds with. Okay. I just want to make a quick comment, and I know this is sort of at the end of the thing and whatever, but just on the topic we were talking about earlier, I just want to give my perspective on it. Because I believe, you know, in nothing being off the table in terms of what people look at, what people do their research into. But I've made certain choices myself. And what guides me personally, I think strategically, before I think in terms of knowing every single possible fact about 9/11. And that's why I'm not doing the directed energy weapons thing. First of all, I don't feel that the case is strong enough for it. But apart from that, I just think about, I've been watching this whole argument go on for 20 years, or, this discussion, and I've been open to learning from all sorts of people. But when I think about how are we going to get the breakthrough that we're all working for, I don't see that coming from either directed energy weapons or no planes. I just don't see those things leading to any. What I see is it kind of getting the movement bogged down into something that will never be resolved. And so, that's why I say, I have no problem with anybody doing any sort of research. But unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, there'll never be a consensus on those points. That will just. It's been 20 plus years.
Craig, you know what I'm going to say to that, right?
Well, no, I don't actually, because maybe I thought I think you and I were agreeing on this point, but go ahead.
No, we're totally agreeing on this point, but I would say the same thing about the Pentagon, lovingly to you.
You'd be wrong about the Pentagon. And actually, it's good that you mentioned that, because I have that written down on my little notepad here, as to why that's different.
Okay.
Okay. The reason it's different is because with the World Trade Center, my argument would be, again, from a strategic point of view, is we've made that case strongly enough that we've already proven that there was a controlled demolition. So to kind of the argument about the mechanism, to me, is secondary. And I think others have said the same thing on this call. The Pentagon is very, very different, because we have evidence that the government staged evidence, and that directly implicates them in the crime, directly. So if my position on the Pentagon and others in the movement is correct, then we have something solid to tie the government or the military element, whatever it is, to this crime. And
what evidence is that?
That is why it is so essential.
Well, I
guess I would.
What evidence is that, Craig, if you don't mind?
The evidence that there was no 750. What's that?
We'll share it.
Barbara started speaking.
Yeah, certainly. I'll give you, the evidence that there was never a 757 impact with the building, the physical evidence, the compelling witnesses that have been interviewed that showed that the plane was on a different flight path, and there's a bunch of other things. Even the video evidence disproves the idea of a 757, even the government's own video evidence. So that case is sufficiently conclusive in my mind, and I think Barbara would agree on this point, that we can, and I know she and I have, some of the details we have different perspectives on, but in the big picture about Flight 77 hitting the building, we can prove that didn't happen. So that directly means that
we agree on the flight path.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah. So that means that evidence was staged, and that the U.S. government directly is responsible for staging it, because nobody else could do that at the Pentagon.
Well,
so that's why that's important.
They found engines that didn't apply to the planes that supposedly hit the Trade Center either. So isn't that government complicity there?
Yes.
Well, no, not necessarily. World Trade Center was not a government building, so that's why it's a little bit different.
Well, World Trade Center 7 was effectively a government building due to its occupancy.
Okay. Personally, my belief is that we have to look at each site on its own merits. Look at the evidence in each case separately, and not necessarily say, well, if they did this in one place, they must have done it at the other. That's just so the discussion can happen about the World Trade Center, but I think the Pentagon is, it's kind of its own thing.
There's definitely special things with that. I mean, some of the soldiers you had, I don't know, did you have Adam Eisenberg on?
Yep, we're very.
He had no live ammunition. None of the people supposedly trained to defend this nation at his fort had live ammunition on that day.
Yep.
And that's just another proof, Patty, that the government knew precisely what was going to happen and knew there wouldn't be another attack.
Yep. Craig, any other final comments?
Absolutely.
Nope, that's good for me. Thank you.
I mean, the only thing I'm going to go back to the directed energy thing is, you know, the Manhattan Project is a prime example. People didn't know that that weapon existed, you know, and we can't know the weaponry that our government is developing because that would tip off our enemies, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, but to understand that they could have been used on citizens unknowingly instead of an enemy. This was on our soil. Speaks to even more atrocities. That's why understanding the weaponry to me is very important. And I do not think that controlled demolition explains it all. I have researched it as well. And for the life of me, that would have been a nice, simple wrap up for me, except for the fact that they were dustified. The buildings were completely dustified. And there's no mechanism that completely dustifies in the demolition category.
Well, there is the concrete in the floors. Maybe Richard.
Yeah, but Barbara, how about the bodies? Do you know how long it takes to cremate a body? That those buildings only stood for an hour and a half. You can't even cremate a body in that time.
Well, the heat could get up. The heat has been shown to get up to over 4,500 degrees.
No.
Yeah, there was the longest
disagree.
building structure fire in history.
Those firemen were
120
climbing.
days.
Wait a minute. The firemen were climbing all over the pile. There was no. Their feet were not melting. You know, we heard all the stories of that, but that was not true. That was not evident on the pile. They were dragging, you know, oxygen, Scott packs everywhere over the pile. None of that blew up. There was water constantly being applied to the site. Now, I think that was to tamp down what was actually, you know, the mechanism for things disassembling that much quicker, you know, due to the weaponry used. But you would have seen steam rising if the ground was that hot.
There was steam.
I think we did, but
no, it wasn't steam. There was people on the pile. They would have been burned. We didn't have those injuries.
There was steam rising where they were smart enough not
actually
to
have.
You had people. You had pictures where they were supposedly looking into a hole within the ground. And supposedly it was so much heat coming through, you know, the pictures were, you know, changed somehow. And those people would have been scalded had they been looking in that hole with 4,000 degree temperatures coming up from them.
Well, you would have to know the time the photograph was taken.
Oh, but Barbara, there's so many of those kinds of instances. The firemen were all over the pile.
Yeah, I have, if I could find it.
Their boots were just disintegrating due to other mechanisms. They were not burning.
I have a list of probably 40 different eyewitnesses that experienced eyewitnesses of molten materials around the World Trade
Molten
Center.
does not imply heat always with the new technologies that exist.
All right. Any final comments,
Well, that's.
Thank you for being here.
Thank
Honestly,
you for letting
sincerely.
me, you know, speak.
Yep. I'll keep praying for you. I truly, honestly, even though we might disagree on certain things, my heart is wholly for trying to get justice for you and all of us that have been under the the blanket of this lie. It's so upsetting. I was 28 years old at the time, and I can't let this go. So, thank you.
A mere child, Gene.
Yeah.
Can I just give you one sentence, and then I'll get off your back here, let you go around the room. I just want to make a quick point that the approach that I kind of have chosen to take applies to the Pentagon also. In other words, there are numerous different theories concerning the Pentagon that perhaps a missile hit or an A3 Sky Warrior or a Global Hawk or, or something shot from a helicopter. And I do the same thing with the Pentagon that I'm just saying that I'm doing with the Trade Center. Basically, I make the choice to focus on, we know that a 757 didn't hit. And I'm not sure that the debates about, what might have hit are actually advancing the cause, any more than what we're talking about at the World Trade Center. So my position is consistent to the two of them, I would say.
I agree with Craig, but it does matter what plane was destroyed there if one was.
All right. Let's go to Sweet Jane. Anything for the group wrapping up?
Yes, thank you. I don't know, in the context of the what tends to be either or arguments, I'm addressing now the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers. To me, the World Trade Center 7 is a no-brainer, with a more traditional controlled opposition.
Demolition.
Controlled demolition.
Sorry?
You
Demolition,
said
not
controlled
opposition.
opposition.
Oh, I did? I didn't. I meant demolition, of course. All right. For mistaking. But I remain puzzled by people, many people who are somehow attached to it being either directed energy weapons and Judy Wood's explanation, or, Richard Gage's long-time strong evidence, equally strong evidence for controlled, nanothermite mechanism, and why it can't be viewed as being a combination of both.
That's what Patty said.
That's what I agree.
That's what
the only thing I can think of to say is the nanothermite. There's been other samples brought forth, and the nanothermite was not found in the other samples. So, you know what? I would think if it took 29,000 metric tons, as I've been informed of nanothermite to take those towers down, it would have been throughout. And then you had Oriole Palmer up in the towers, saying, "Oh, I need 2 more hoses to put this fire out right below the impact zone." And he would have been the first person to say, I see evidence of detonations. I see wiring. I see, all kinds of craziness going on here. Get out. And he wasn't saying that. And then minutes, seconds, I don't even know, minutes. We'll
4
give it
minutes,
minutes.
yeah.
1 minute.
The building started to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't see anything, that there was detonations, and
They hadn't happened yet. They hadn't happened.
He wouldn't.
Yeah, but he would have seen traces of stuff. He was well informed as to, he was a battalion chief. He wasn't a newbie.
We can't say that he didn't see it. He might not have said it. But
oh my God, he's only asking for hoses.
Yeah, he was trying to address the situation.
He would have been saying,
yeah.
"Get out."
Yeah.
Get out.
Yep.
That didn't happen though. And that tells me that he had no inkling that building was going to come down. No inkling. Not that he wasn't courageous for going up there in the first place, but he had no inkling that there were mechanisms there that were going to take those buildings down.
I agree with that. Yep. Thank you. Sue, or Jane, anything else?
Oh, I guess not right now. It's to me, it's not either or, but both in different ways, and there's evidence for both. So I don't see any way around that at this point.
Yeah, don't be such a troublemaker, Jane.
That's where I kind of, and I know I lose some people on it. I try to look for what we can all agree on, which is really hard to do. But we were definitely lied to, and that we all agree that the buildings were not brought down by fire.
Yeah.
And, we could unify on that. Thank you, Jane.
Well, not.
What?
Okay.
Jack,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
but every time you say that, I have to push back.
Just out of curiosity, what's the pushback?
The pushback is that all the things that we kind of focus on, all the things we agree on, but the problem with that is that when there's a minority that pushes a particular position, like the plane hit the Pentagon, then there's an inclination from some people's point of view to say, well, let's push that aside because we don't all agree on it.
Well, that's not necessarily pushing back on that. Just saying the two things we can agree on is that we were lied to and that the buildings were brought down by fire. I think we go.
I agree with that.
Okay,
I agree with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jack? Mr. Marine, hoo-ah, hoo-yah.
Just that, just listen to, if you hear an NPR program where they interview people on the street, what do they think about Iran? Nobody, I mean, half the people don't know anything. And they think the Ayatollah is still alive and he's conspiring to blow up, this or that building. And they really don't know anything. They just believe the propaganda. So I think that's what the public we have to deal with. They're not going to get the details. They don't understand the details of the Iran war. They don't understand the details of Venezuela. They won't understand the details of 9/11. So we have to speak to them more broadly and don't expect them to get the details because they won't. Thanks.
Understood. Yep. Keep it simple. Yep. Thank you, Jack. Richard, anything for the group?
Yeah, I just wanted to make 6 points with the time that I have uninterrupted. There were 156 first responders who are witnesses of explosions at the Twin Towers and flashes of light. And a good number of those are witnesses of those things before the towers collapsed. Explosions and flashes of light, so those are not sounds of the building collapsing. That's denied by Dr. Wood on page 110 and 153. There's also plenty of evidence of extreme heat, molten metal, in fact, pouring out of the South Tower minutes prior to its collapse, and heat up to 2,800 degrees documented by many different agencies, including Bechtel, including FEMA. And these are designated as cold by Dr. Judy Wood on page 263 and 295. And molten iron microspheres, which are the byproduct of thermite, provably, which have no other source other than the surface tension squeezing together distributed aerosolized molten iron, which again is a byproduct of thermite. This is denied by Dr. Judy Wood on page 332. There's also evidence, chemical evidence of thermite throughout the aftermath of the World Trade Center, and that's denied by Judy Wood on 124. And evidence provided by FEMA of the liquid molten iron hot corrosion attack on the steel. Let me just finish.
FEMA is another federal agency.
Let me just finish, Patty. I'm sorry. I gave you time. I'm going to go ahead and finish. The evidence of FEMA Appendix C is denied by on page 270 and 370 and 465 of Dr. Wood's book. Also, we do have evidence in all the 7 dust samples collected and analyzed by a team of international scientists of nanothermite. And this is denied by Dr. Wood on page 131. So we say, why can't it be both? Well, it can be both, but we clearly have irrefutable, overwhelming evidence that I just cited, and that is in all of my 90-minute presentations, none of which is directly addressed by Norman, Andrew Johnson, or Dr. Judy Wood and it's discounted on those pages that I highlighted. So it's not that it can't be both. It's that when we have irrefutable, overwhelming evidence that's actively denied, and there's no evidence for directed energy weapons, we have to at least suspect the people who are promoting it, particularly Dr. Judy Wood. Go ahead, Patty.
Well, the molten metal falling from, I think you're referencing Tower 2, and that I heard that was due to the batteries being used to support the banking industries exploding and melting down. There were diesel tanks throughout the buildings as backup for the tanks in the basement. Those create fire, no doubt. They also, the people who want to believe that there's planes that hit the buildings, smells an awful lot like plane fuel, diesel does. There were other mechanisms available, but there was also, I believe, and a lot of evidence manipulation as far as the pictures and things like that I've seen on your site, Richard. And it's hard to deny that when you were working with Stephen Jones, that he was part and parcel of directed energy too. So who better to plan a cover up than somebody that was directly involved in directed energy at Los Alamos and elsewhere? He was part and parcel of all that, and also for quashing quite a bit of the free energy work that others have done. Sometimes it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. It's a duck. They're just, there's a lot of evidence to the contrary. The dust samples that I have seen also point to the directed energy. The iron found in the samples is due to, the energy being directed at the buildings. Things fuse and in their cloud of coherence, and then they spit out certain types of evidence. And Bob Grenier, he discounted the thermite found in the sample as paint chips. I mean, I don't know, could there have been both? Yes, but you refute Judy Wood, she refutes you. And that's where we're at, right?
Well, batteries don't glow bright red. Lead doesn't, in other words, and neither does aluminum bright yellow in daylight conditions, to answer your first point. Your third point is dust. Well, what we were talking about, molten metal pouring out of the South Tower. Well, it was bright yellow, and we don't have that phenomena from melted batteries or aluminum. So we're talking about molten iron here. And you mentioned dust samples.
Is that because of thermite and the like?
That could be deduced given the evidence for thermite in other locations. But the dust samples, in all of the different people who analyze the dust samples, including the U.S. Geological Survey and R.J. Lee, they find no steel dust in the dust samples. There's no steel dust. The steel wasn't dustified. What they do find is molten iron microspheres, which take 3,000 degrees to melt, and which is the evidence of thermite. And Bob Grenier made all kinds of mistakes, which are refuted in his analysis by Dr. Niels Harrit, but that's not discussed by Norman.
But that paper too, Niels Harrit is supposedly written, was discredited as well. So I mean,
well, yeah, you and I aren't going to be able to come to terms with that, because that gets into some high science that I don't understand. So I agree that there's dispute over that. I'm just saying that the dispute by Bob has been
the fact that there was the seismic data that you don't understand seismic data. I mean, the
Oh,
buildings,
no,
if they slammed to the
that's
ground, should have created a huge seismic.
actually, that was 15 years ago too.
Yeah.
What we know now is that the steel samples from the tower peppered the ground over 15 seconds, and not even the ground, but the diaphragm over the ground. So there's no signal 20 miles north that could be made by 4-ton structural steel samples peppering the World Trade Center site, the parking lot.
That's not true.
Oh, it is very true.
No, you have
And
steel
that's true.
falling to the ground.
It's
It
not the
creates
ground.
a seismic.
No, we're talking about 4-ton sections, one at a time. And there's no seismic signal according to geophysicist Andre Rousseau, who did a detailed paper on that.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you both for that. But we do both agree that fire didn't cause it. I'm trying to make light of it. Sorry.
I
Thank
agree
you,
with
Richard.
that.
Richard is currently still working on episode 6, The Crime Scene, the Courtroom, and helping with the committee of 5, getting that thing together for Ron Johnson. Thank you. Anything else, Richard?
Thank you, Gene, for the opportunity. And thank you, Patty, for coming and joining us. We really appreciate it.
Truly.
We're so sorry for your loss.
Yes.
We pray for all the family members continuously.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I just agree to disagree with you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Lou Welge. Anything for the group, Mr. Florida? Nope. Can you get the mute? I'll help you. There. Whoop. Where'd he go?
I just want to thank you. Just want to thank you all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Mr. Norway, still up.
Yeah, thank you, and have a great week, and keep up the great work, and see you next time, I hope, and keep praying for justice, and great work, Richard Gage, with the number 6. You are a great editor, and I have never seen anybody making so much great movies, so have been so great. I've never seen anybody like you that have been so deeply involved in this demolition evidence. Thank you so much for all the power.
Thank you, Magnus. And guess what? I couldn't do 1,000 presentations and 1,000 radio interviews without a salary. And you're part of my salary, and you have been for a long time. And I appreciate it very much. Nobody's profiting from this.
Well, I just
We
don't
can't do
understand
this work
anybody
for free.
making a business out of 9/11. I just can't go with it. I
Yeah,
can't.
but I'm doing this for free only because I'm a construction manager, and this pains us. Like, this occupies every other point, but I don't want to ask for money. I would love to be able to do this and make a living doing it and do a better job at it, but I can't. But I truly can understand.
That professional money coming in to us to do these things.
Yeah, but I can respect.
I gave it the office. That's all I can say.
I got to respect that Richard's flying around the country and doing
I'd
all
like
these
to be flying
presentations.
around the country. I can't afford it.
But he's not having fun doing this. It's definitely not gaining.
It's a business, and you do business.
Patty, there's only one way you can do 24 tours of different countries and 1,000 presentations, 1,000 interviews, and still pay your mortgage, and that's to ask for help. And that's what I've done, and I don't feel ashamed about that.
All right. Thank you. Next is Sue Serpa. Boston Lemon Truth, you've got John Mark Haber coming on. He started Flyby News, and he's on this Thursday, 6:30 p.m.
That's correct. Yeah, I hope everyone will join us. And we don't have any other speakers lined up. And the only criteria for a guest speaker is that they talk about 9/11. They can talk about any aspect of 9/11, and the topic will be only that aspect of 9/11, whatever the guest speaker has. So please email me with suggestions. Otherwise, we'll just have to start recycling our past guest speakers.
Susan,
Yes.
why don't you re-extend your wonderful
Sue,
invitation?
Jonathan Mark Haber is Jonathan
excuse
Mark
me,
Haber is
Wait
is
a
the same as
minute.
Jonathan Mark, right?
Barbara started talking first. Please
Sorry.
hold your thoughts,
Okay.
Greg.
Sure. Yep.
But Susan, why don't you re-extend your wonderful invitation to Patty to come on Boston 9/11 Truth?
I am extending it
I
right
will
now.
consider it. I have a lot of health issues going on.
All right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, anytime in the future. My email is sueserpa, SUESERPA @gmail.com. And
And I
the
can-
only requirement is that the guest speaker address 9/11 and that they follow our guidelines of civility.
Yep. And I can affirm they have a member, Chris Bergier, which is a huge directed energy weapon proponent. So
Yeah.
would-
We will not censor any topics on 9/11 as long as it's 9/11 and they're civil.
Yep. Thank you, Sue. She's the head of, or one of the heads of Boston 9/11 Truth, probably one of the longest running 9/11 Truth movement organizations in the United States. So thank you. And she just got, I'm sorry.
Make
Yes,
that
go
comment
ahead,
I was
Craig.
about to make. Yeah, it's very quick. I believe the person you have coming to your meeting, Sue, is also kind of known as Jonathan Mark, just Jonathan Mark. I think it's the same person.
Yes.
Okay, I assumed so. Jonathan Mark is actually the guy that created the 9/11 and other deep state crimes teleconference. Many years ago. It was just, I think it was originally called the 9/11 Truth Leaders Teleconference, which I think that's why Barb used that in her comments earlier. And
yeah, it just shows how old I am.
well, we both are, I guess. But yeah, I volunteered to help out with the thing 15 years ago. So I'm still doing it. But anyway, I just want to mention that just for fun, because he created, even though he's been gone from there for many, many years, that shows how old that teleconference is. So our thanks to Jonathan for that.
Nice.
Yeah, and he hails from Western Massachusetts, so I hope we're talking about the same one.
Well, here, this will help you guys out. Is this him right there? Everybody sees the picture?
I believe
I don't know what he looks like, honestly.
That's him.
Okay.
Looks like Indiana Jones to me.
And he wrote a book called, where is it?
Yeah.
He didn't write In Plain Sight. Oh, yeah, it is.
No.
In Plain Sight, a memoir
But
infused
the other plane.
Yeah, there we go. In Plain Sight, a memoir infused with military psychological operations. So, all right. Well, look, that's 6:30 on Thursday. If you want an invite, email Sue, SUESERPA @gmail.com. Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
You just got back from Scotland from a visit with Jetty. So if you don't mind, I'm going to skip the Jetty. Anything for the group, Jerry?
Yeah, just very quickly. I think when you're going to look for engineering evidence, the best place to look is what did they say before they decided on what the story was. And I'm going to put this link into the chat again. This is the forum on the technical implications of the collapse of the World Trade Centers. This is part 2, and if you go to this bit here, it's a Port Authority engineer, and he's pointing out pictures, and what he's saying is that 2 months almost after the event, there is a lump of molten metal that they're describing as being as hot as the centre of the sun. And he's got pictures of it. So they don't have a reason to lie at this point because they don't have a story yet. And if anybody wants to, it's an unlisted video, but that link there will work. And if anybody wants a link to parts 1 and parts 3, that guy there, he's a Port Authority engineer. And they haven't made up their story yet. They're still talking about collapsing floors and pancaking and things. This is November 2001. And he quite clearly says, this bit of metal here, we don't know what it is, but it is hotter than the sun. And this is between 6 and 8 weeks after the event. And it's the best place to go for evidence is to, what did they say before they constructed their story? And hope you get well soon, Gene.
Thank you. And I just want to know, did you have a pint with Sue?
I did, yeah. We had a beer, and I thought we both thought we were going to the same restaurant that we'd been to before, and it turned out to be a totally different one. I was confused as hell. I was there asking where the bar was and everything. I'm like, how is this place different? How does it not have a bar? It was hilarious, just that aspect. But it was very good to meet up with Susan.
It was
Yeah,
the place we had met before was Bubba's, and this
Yeah.
was Zizi's. So I
Yeah.
guess next time we'll meet at Kaka's.
It was
Thank
great
you,
to see you.
Yep. Where am I at here?
What about Barb? Because I'm about to meet Jerry in Scotland.
Okay, Barb, what do you got?
Well, I have an apartment in Scotland, and I'm going to be traveling there for 2 weeks with family in mid-June to early July, to about July 6th or 7th. And Jerry and I have been going back and forth just a few minutes ago, and we're going to be getting together while I'm there. So that's really exciting. I do have one comment that I think I would be surprised if anyone would disagree with this one, but we'll see. And that is, I personally am I'm very well informed about 9/11 for 24 and a half years. And I completely agree that it's a good thing to keep your mind open, that there could have been other mechanisms at the World Trade Center towers. Probably not World Trade Center 7 because it was a classic controlled demolition. But however, about the towers, which are far more important to Patty and the people who lost loved ones, to the survivors of those buildings, and to the world and the American public. So it's a good idea to keep your mind open to potential other mechanisms, including highly secret mechanisms. However, the very fact that they're highly secret, as Patty said, means that we wouldn't ever have proof, probably at all, certainly not in our lifetimes, that they were used. However, we do have proof, even if it's not the whole picture, that military-grade unsulfurated nanothermite was used. And so we need to focus on what we can prove. And that's why Senator Johnson has asked for incontrovertible evidence. We won't be able to provide the whole picture, but we need to provide what we know has been proven and that we can therefore agree on. So that's my comment. And I look forward to meeting you, Jerry.
Thank you, Barb. Whoops. Thank you, Barb. There was a guy that was taking a picture of a firefighter on the pile, and he missed that in the foreground there's showing a steel beam with eutectic damage on it. And I reached out to him, and he says he has to figure out how to get it off of the tape onto digital format, and he would send me a copy. And I'm going to try to find that real quick to show you guys the picture. But let me continue with the around the room here. Susie, anything for the group?
This was a fascinating session. I want to thank you all. And Patty, again, I don't know when and if you plan to visit the War Room again, but I would certainly love to follow up with you at some point, maybe when you're feeling better and not so, encumbered with health issues. And I would certainly like to meet you towards the anniversary.
I would too.
Yeah, I kind of closed down for that. I don't make a public anything of that. That's my my private time.
Yep.
Totally understood.
Yes.
But I am going to try and move forward with the Howard Lutnick
Yeah,
situation, and I would like
I
to.
say you go at it with everything that you have. You know, when we were fighting for the commission, there were other groups that were looking, for other aspects, and multi-prong approach. You go at it with everything you can, and these people in these offices should have thicker skin than myself. And I'm sorry, Howard, you were in charge of a big organization, big company, and now you're in the government. Well, now you're in the hot seat. That's the way it goes. And now you need to answer.
Yeah, and I'd certainly like to follow up with the Saudi Arabia lawsuit as well. I wouldn't know where to find any updated information on that.
Well,
so
right now it's at a 2 to 3 year stay, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what is that? So the Saudis can't be scrutinized during the 25th anniversary. I hate calling it an anniversary.
What do you mean by stay? Do you mean a gag order by the judge? What do you
No,
mean?
it's on hold.
Just on
But
hold.
I thought they dismissed
The whole case is on hold.
Wow, I thought they just dismissed Saudi's ability to appeal.
Nope, there's nothing going on.
Well, you are correct, Susie. That did happen not long before the last anniversary. However, that doesn't rule out that it's been put on hold now.
Nope. It came from Judge Daniels. He's the man down at
When did the hold begin? Do you remember?
Oh gosh.
Barb,
It's got to be months now.
This is now turning out.
They're like,
this is now the longest war room I think I've ever done.
Well, we have a featured speaker.
We do. I understand. Yes.
which is why, because I
Yeah.
would have shut it down an hour and a half ago.
And I hope you feel
shut the
better
rest of us
too,
up.
Jean. I hope you feel better too, Jean. Thank you for holding out so long.
No, thanks. Raul, Captain Raul Angulo.
He said nothing for him in the chat.
Joshua Schoenfeld, anything for the group?
A week ago, Robert Mueller, who was the FBI director, passed away, and I believe he leaves behind a horrific legacy. For example, when he, as FBI director, he prevented the joint inquiry from interviewing Abdul Sattar Sheikh. Who was an FBI informant, Saudi intelligence asset. He hosted 2 alleged hijackers in his home, Hazmi and Midar, and it doesn't make sense to me why Mueller wouldn't let the joint inquiry interview this important person who could have maybe helped. If he were to be interviewed, maybe there could have been information that we all could have learned about 9/11. So I think in the media, when they talk about how great Mueller was, that is a huge mistake. And I really hope that people can maybe learn or research maybe more about who Robert Mueller was in terms of whether part of the FBI as the director, he was really just somebody who I believed maybe covered things up. And that's not something that we should be supporting or saying that he was a great.
Yeah, no, he definitely wasn't. He used to line the rooms when we would meet with him, with his agents for intimidation purposes.
Wow.
He'd scream and yell at us, get super red in the face, yell at us, the whole atmosphere whenever we went down there was pretty much, how dare we question? How dare?
That's horrible.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there were some nice people, obviously, but he was not one of them.
Are you talking about FBI headquarters? What are you talking about?
Yeah. We were at FBI headquarters. Yeah.
All right.
The whole room would be lined with agents right behind us, all around, and then you have Mueller directing the shots and the conversation and screaming, yelling if you didn't like what you were questioning him on. And I'm sure he was decent with other people. I mean, a lot of things are very compartmentalized as to the audience.
Yep. Anything else, Josh? Joshua?
That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Trina Silvers, Florida. Anything for the group?
Hey, you guys. I know it's been a long one, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. But as I've been listening to everything, so many things flooded my mind.
I'm sure.
Thank you, Jean and Sandra, for the platform, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
I just want to say to everyone that what I would love to personally see is for us all to just open our minds, open our hearts, and look at everything that's being presented. But more than that, I would love to know exactly what happened, what exact weapons were used, what exact materials were used. I would love to see that one day. I would love to know. But more than that, I would love to know that our efforts everyone's cumulative efforts after 25 years were achieved and we actually see justice. Because what comes to my mind is we know the government's using lies and weaponry against us, many forms of weapons, whether it be mind control, whether it be propaganda, brainwashing, geoengineering, thermite, fluoride, I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? So
biowarfare weapons on
yeah.
unsuspecting citizens.
Yes, that too, bioweapons. So there is a long list of weaponry being used. And I agree with Patricia, and I want to tell her thank you for her loss. But because I'm also of that mindset of, oh my gosh, if they could do this to Lahaina, if they could do this to California, Los Angeles, these fires that are happening everywhere. Anybody could be the next sitting duck, right?
Exactly.
So what I would love to see is, instead of going against each other, go against the government, because the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And along those same lines, the dedication and commitment that Richard Gage has shown the movement as a whole. Most people know about A&E and their work. Most people know about Richard Gage 9/11 and his work. The Lawyers Committee, the crime scene to courtroom, that's putting something like, in front of the public that they can actually kind of try to grasp. But to me, there's just more than the 9/11 families of the buildings. To me, we're all kind of the 9/11 families, because this has all touched us so deeply, or we wouldn't still be here. But I think about the 9/11 families, the Iraqis, the Afghanis, the people that were killed, the citizens there, the men, women, and children that were just going about their own lives and had this war of terror sprung upon them, right? All of the American people, in my mind, are victims. The 9/11 families are victims. The soldiers are victims. I mean, there's so many victims among us. So I just want to see.
The list is long.
I just want to see justice. And instead of going against each other, let's go against the perpetrators. Let's just, if we have to, agree to disagree. It will all come out eventually. But if we don't keep our eye on the prize, which is holding the government accountable, because, okay, and I don't begrudge anyone getting help, financial. We all need it from time to time, dealing with health issues, financial issues. I would love to see. I don't begrudge Richard being compensated salary for what he's doing. It's been vital to the movement. And anyone that's doing vitally important work, I say, yes, let's try to help them, because inflation is hitting. Yeah. The government is just, we're all beholden to this system, whether we like it or not. And the more we work together to free ourselves from this monetary trap we all find ourselves in of overtaxation and everything else. I mean, the list is so long, right? We're funding these wars. We're funding the lies. We're funding the deceit. And if we could just all wrap our heads around that and just let that settle in our bones and all the lives, I'd like to know what happened to all the people on the planes too. I'd love to know that. What happened to them? What really happened at Shanksville? What really happened at the Pentagon? What really happened at the towers in World Trade Center 7? We'll never know all of the whole story ever, I feel. But I really do hope that we can all settle down and focus on justice. And that's what I'd like to leave everyone with.
Thank you, Trina.
Love you.
Sorry, that was a little long.
No,
sorry.
that was perfect.
I want to go back to Jane. You put your hand up, Jane?
Thank you, Sandra.
Oh, thank you. I just want to say thank you, Trina, for your sort of overview, big picture summary. It's perhaps the better way to end with all of this. But I just wanted to interject that as much as I support, and thank you, Jean, for hanging in there as long as you are with all of this. It's wonderful. But I just wanted to say, with regard to Judy Wood's evidence, compelling evidence of directed energy weapons, her ability, or at least so far, to communicate the problems with Richard Gage's approach to controlled demolition is pretty weak. And I'm just going to cite this. Apparently, she offered this self-containing breathing apparatus that she uses to explain the explosions, and Raul Angulo has, disputed that was ever present in the Twin Towers demolition. Anyway, I just wanted to put.
Jane, remind everybody who Raul is. He's still on the call.
Yeah, Raul Angulo. He's a major firefighter captain who's opened his mind to all of the evidence for the.
He's right there. He just came on camera.
Thank you. Thank you, Raul.
Just kidding.
Okay. Yeah.
I was trying to be incognito this whole session.
Yeah, we saw your name. We saw your
name. Trina, everything was well said, and I agree with what Jane is saying too, that we have to look at everything. But I agree. Some of the evidence has been challenged against Dr. Wood. But for me, who I don't really know, and I haven't spent that much time studying her perspective, but it goes to her credibility when she attributes the explosions as being the SCBA, that stands for self-contained breathing apparatus, or in common terms, the air tanks that firefighters use, that the air tanks were exploding due to high temperatures or whatever. That's totally false. It didn't happen on September 11th, and it hasn't even happened in the American Fire Service.
Well,
that would definitely be a failure of equipment that we definitely would look at, because we carry them on our backs. So for me, just without even having a lot invested in her work, I question that if she would resign, that this is the cause of the explosions, challenge that goes against the witness testimonies, that it affects her credibility. And that's all I was just saying.
There were explosions of Scott packs and the like. There are testimonies.
No, there weren't. I've done the research on that.
So have I.
Patty, I'm sorry.
There's oral presentations where the
FDNY did not
the EMT workers were saying that they were blowing up as they're walking by ambulances and the like.
No firefighter was hurt because their SCBA tank blew up on their back. It didn't happen.
They were blowing up all down there too.
No, I'm sorry.
In ambulances and the like. But there's pressurization changes with these type of weapons. I was in Ecuador for my son's friend who was playing soccer there, and I'm in a hotel. I had no idea how close I was to the volcano that had just erupted before we got there. And I was in a room, you have a metal door to your room, and the volcano they were still pressurizing, causing minor reactions. My door actually moved in and out and created a huge noise, which is probably something that somebody might have heard down there. It affected the metal.
But a building isn't a pressure cylinder. But Patty, I was there in October of 2001, and so my peers, I lost friends there too. I mean, that's my generation. I'm not a new time firefighter.
Forgive me, Raul, just real quick, if I could. He's a 38-year firefighter. He wrote for the NFPA, the Engine Company Fireground Operations. He was personal friends with Chief Visconti and a couple other headline people. So he's been in this service for a long time. Had a lot of friends down there. So he's speaking with.
No, I
am. I was with Chief Visconti. I was with Chief Visconti numerous times in 2002, and with Chief Jonas. He was a captain of the time at Ladder 6. And we had him in Seattle, and I had friends in Ray Downey. I mean, these were all my peers, and I'm telling you, as a national author, national instructor, and very tied to the FDNY of 2001, that era, nobody reported any tanks blowing up. So it's a misnomer, just like people, even firefighters, thought that diesel fuel was the cause or a contributing factor to building 7, and it wasn't. So, people will say things and it gets out, and unless it's researched,
Well,
people will take it as
my
true, but that did not
understanding is,
happen.
yeah,
It
well,
didn't
my
happen, and you shouldn't say it
understanding
because
is
it's not
I
true.
have friends down there too that are firefighters who were threatened not to tell what actually happened. And then those that did, get overshadowed by, Richard Gage's story.
Now that statement right there is a very interesting statement, because we suspect that firefighters were told not to disclose information, and that's one reason why
They were told they were going to be followed. I mean, what more
I know, and
intimidation?
that's why people go, well, why is the Seattle guy the head guy? It's because the New York guys won't talk.
Yeah,
Trust me, we've been
they
trying.
can't talk. Their pensions were at stake and the like.
Right, and so I agree with what you're saying there, but that fact of that,
Well,
we would have known.
There are EMTs that have testified to it too, that oxygen tanks and everything else were blowing up. It happened in weird locations, like how the cars flipped over and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think they happen in those areas. That sort of thing. Did it happen throughout the building? I have no idea. Yeah. None of us do, except for the firefighters that died there.
All right. I'm going to try to wrap this one up. Thank you
I'm
both.
Here.
Sandra, anything for the group wrapping up?
No, I'm good.
I just wanted to share this one picture that I said I would share. This is a gentleman named Charles Hoft. He was trying to identify this firefighter. Sorry, I can't zoom in on it, but he was trying to identify this firefighter, which they eventually did identify the firefighter, but he missed this piece of steel in front that was.
I think it was Susie who clued in on that.
And Susie did, and I emailed him and I said, hey, can I get a copy of that, because this looks like sulfidide. Sorry, Richard, help me out there. Sulfidated steel. This is a high heat reaction on a steel beam.
And it could be a directed energy effect.
But that's
at the ends of the beam.
So that doesn't make much sense on that one.
What was that?
At the end of the beam.
That Norman Swanepoel says that, and Judy Wood say that directed energy weapon is a cooled technology, so it wouldn't leave this sulfidized.
It wouldn't
burn.
Melt.
It wouldn't melt. It wouldn't. Yeah. It's cooled technology. It just their opinion is that it just disassociates.
It compromises the shape, the whole integrity of the piece of metal.
And I'm not saying that this is an either or.
No.
I think there were multiple mechanisms were probably used. This isn't something that we have to like headbutt over, but there's question. I'm like saying, hey, there's a question about this piece of steel.
And the thing with the directed energies, it's a lot harder, I understand, to accept. Because it's that much more uncomfortable. We all know what explosions look like.
Yep.
And that's what people are comfortable with. But that does not mean that the terrifying mechanisms of directed energy were not used on that day.
Correct.
I mean, 200 jumpers went out the windows. The reason I feel also the directed energy is a lot of the jumpers were seen trying to take off their clothing and everything else at the people at the windows, and it wasn't heat. If you've ever seen those weapons where they clear crowds and like
microwave weapons,
it heats the fluid in your body such that you feel like you're on fire.
But if there is an anothermic reaction going on the floors below, reaching 4,500 degrees, it's going to get a few hundred degrees on that floor.
The firefighters below were not reporting that they're seeing detonation and everything else along the way.
Again, I don't think this is
in the elevator.
This doesn't need to be an either or. I think we both agree something other than just fire happened that day. So. Anyways.
Gene, can I add two things real quick that I forgot?
Sure.
I'll keep it real quick. I promise you, I swear.
3.5 hours. Okay.
Okay. Since Raul mentioned me, I wanted to say that was one of the things that I forgot was to mention were the firefighters, because they are at the top of my list, the 343, and not to mention those that are still dying today from the dust. And also, more importantly, what the schools are teaching now in their curriculum. I think, we just got to get our focus off of all of these minute I mean, I know there are details, all right. I'm not going to call them minute. I just started to correct myself.
Thank you.
Get ourselves off of the details and get on to pursuing what we can actually do about it. Thank you. Over.
Yep. And my last thing I want to do, I said at the beginning what Mick had asked us is not to attack other people, and I reminded some emails of what I got from Norman, and I apologize for that because I don't want to speak. I'm going to try to be better. I don't want to disparage anybody. I just want to talk about the evidence. If we do get into evidence, I really don't want to get into the weeds. As I said, this is more about new 9/11 news for the week, strategy and activism moving forward. I thank everybody for being here in your heart for 9/11 Truth. And Patty, thank you so much for joining. You're always welcome, but I understand you don't feel obligated to come back or even stick around the whole time. But I do appreciate you being here. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Everybody have a good night. A great week. Let's talk next time. I'm going to go pass out in bed.
After supper.
Get well.
Thank you. Bye.
Get well.
Bye.
Bye.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.